Nope. Nope.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keeping it 100.
Keep it 100.
So chase greatness and start understanding that he's going to make everybody better.
Tape never lies.
I don't want to see your tape breakdowns if you cannot show me things that are negative about a guy that's on your current team.
Hashtag chase greatness. Hashtag take that.
Keep it 100.
Because I'll make this one more time clear. Caden Whitlow, cut it.
Keeping it 100.
He is the best quarterback I have ever scouted on tape.
The Chicago Bears select.
Guess who's back? The two dudes that kept it real. Dynamic duo that you love, the smartest man at Dr. Phil. Breaking down the film, never a problem, kick it straight. Most shows focus on stats, we focus on the tape. We keep it in 100, never running east or west. We coming with that truth, cause that's what our fans expect. Cut off the taking anchor, moving forward to be free. But don't you worry, Shane's got the dumbest tweets. It ain't no secret, Phil and Shane got some haters. But now they're moused up like the true and now and latest. Debaters, frauds get kicked like Coach Tabor. Cuts had to be made, we added a barber moderator. Up and down, boys got you double checking. Sad sack strolling like a fool drunk texting. Flexing on the truth cause you know they'll never change. Real, recognize real, that's what you get with Phil and Shane.
Give me some fucking names.
When you
Two
break it
fucking
down,
games.
spark a play or a captain, all of the up there. The tape never lies, the truth you see. We laugh, we analyze, so there's no babies like Maybelline. Straight to the truth with acumen and facts. We got a stat nerd, but he's not just giving nerd stats. Car crash, big impact like trip stat. Every Wednesday night you got the smartest and Phil back. Now we know you're smiling like a fat kid with fun dip. We're back better than ever and we're keeping it 100.
Keep it 100.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest
Keeping it
man.
100.
Keeping it 100.
Keeping it 100.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keeping it 100.
Keep it 100.
Keeping it 100.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all, what is good, TTNL family? It is Cherie, aka Lady Bear, and y'all know what time it is. It's Wednesday night, so y'all in the right spot. We don't have Draft Dr. Phil tonight. He is on a well-deserved trip, vacation, whatever you want to call it.
Nope.
But we do have a special treat for y'all, and you know the guys got a lot to talk about. We got 15 days until we got our QB of the future. So why we just might as well jump right into it. I'm gonna bring out our struggling Mr. Smartest Man.
Yeah, I finally get my own show, Cherie, and I start to lose my voice.
You don't have the voice for it, poor guy.
Yeah. See how it goes.
Are we
No
gonna
luck.
do a special intro for our special guest?
Does,
Just bring
does
him out.
Angelo Joe Marino really need an intro, Cherie?
Well, you know, if he's here, I'm bouncing. But
Everybody's like, I bet you it's Cars. I bet you it's
well,
Alan
they,
Thatcher. Maybe it's Ivan Vargas.
nope. Well, they got one right.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and bring him out.
Oh, Angelo. There he is.
Aw,
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
disappointed.
I'm gonna take about an hour to show you all my collectibles, and we'll just roll with it that way.
You said edibles wrong.
Oh, that's right, edibles. I don't need to show those though. If you've seen one, you've seen them all.
Oh, what's good, man? 15 days out. This is, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The Cars mock draft, the annual mock draft is coming up the week of the draft. It's going to be interesting. Cherie, who do you think Cars is going to take at number one?
Is he gonna go with MHJ?
No, I'm going JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
Chicago needs a white quarterback, is all I know. So, all right, let's start this off strong. Can we just reset this and let's just go at it?
Yeah. Oh man.
Welcome back, Cards. We missed you.
Well, thanks. It's good to be back and good to see
And
your
happy
faces.
belated birthday.
Thank you. It's fun to be ancient, let me tell you.
Oh, you're ancient. How do you think I feel?
Ma, you forgetting about Cars.
No, it's okay. Forget about me. It's good.
Oh, there she is.
It's
That's
good.
My favorite Franklin over there, Miss Deborah.
Shane, you're gonna have us smiling from ear to ear just off of that.
Oh, she knows.
Mhm.
She likes my sexy voice. Miss Deborah does.
That's what we're looking at.
It's getting thick already, and we're about 2 minutes into this, so perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, Phil knows how to do it upright. He schedules when I'm gonna start to lose my voice, so that's when he goes on vacation. So I can't finally shine, get my day.
Well, I guess I just have to take over and run with it with Shuri, right? Shuri,
Yeah.
we got this. We don't need him.
He did send me a video. He's, you know how Phil's always working for TTNL. Do you guys know Labby the Cabbie from Universal Studios? You don't know who that is?
No.
He did a little promo for us.
And this is Labby the Cabbie saying, remember, the tape never lies.
That'll fire you right up, right, Shuri?
I'm ready to run through a brick wall.
It's like getting food delivered to your house on Wednesday nights.
That-
Oh, wow.
That guy's got a few PowerPoint tips. I probably need, a few shortcuts or something like that.
It's still not better than this promo.
Oh my god, Greg, droning on and on. Shut the fuck up, dude.
Who?
That's my favorite.
Who?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Mr. Second place is what he'll be known by moving forward. Mr. Purdue himself.
I mean, is it going to go back to Indiana here now,
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, I've gotta see how it goes. Hoosiers in the stands. We'll see how this plays out.
How about the Yukon boys
Yeah. Phil.
and South Carolina ladies?
Oh yeah, that was that wasn't my favorite part of the South Carolina UConn game. I won't share that on air, but Cars knows what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, right here I do have Mike V, our patron, is having dinner with Phil and Steph and the family. I have a picture here. I got talking to you guys and I didn't load it up. Let me do that.
I hope the restaurant had good booster seats for the boys and Phil so that they can all be table height. So
I was trying to figure out who my guy Mike V looked like when I saw the picture that Phil sent. Hasn't come to me yet, but let me get this loaded up. You guys chat a little bit while I'm pretending like I'm working here in the background.
I have no idea what to do with my hands right now, Shuri. I feel like Ricky Bobby on the, Big Red commercial. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Oh,
Oh boy. Yeah. Give me 2 seconds, Shuri.
He's always first he comes in with a bad voice.
Oh,
now he's
I'm
completely
prepared.
unprepared.
I know.
terrible.
Thank God we can clean all of this up in post.
That's right. I wanna give my guy his love here though. Mike V. Eating with make sure Phil pays for the dinner, Mike V, by the way.
Is contrary to popular belief, the wallet can open. So
Yes. Yeah, put it on the TTNL account. All right, here we go. It is transferring as we speak, I promise.
Isn't it great when you watch old people use technology
Yeah, I know.
live on YouTube?
This is my first mouse. It's
You know,
crazy.
We're gonna go ahead and plug this
There
in.
they are. There's the
Very
happy spam.
nice. Very nice.
Who does Mike V look like? It's somebody, and I can't quite put my finger on it. It's somebody.
Yeah, that picture, I can't. I'm gonna have to. Let me see if I can make it bigger.
That's what she said. Anyway, we're 2 for 2 now, so let's just keep this
Keep it
going.
rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so what we're going to do tonight, we never have a blueprint here, but we're not going to focus on the number 1 pick because we all know that that's solidified. I don't know. Did you see the updated odds cards from Vegas on Caleb Williams going number 1 to the Bears? It's minus 10,000.
And I think Adunze at 9 had pretty.
Yeah, it was like minus 250 or something like that.
Well, I think when our vaunted friend Mr. Cox shared with us that you could not go out and buy a custom Bears jersey with a number 18 and Caleb and Williams on the back of it.
You can have it for any other number.
You
can do Williams and any other number. That's why and yesterday Ivan Vargas had his number 13 Caleb Williams jersey delivered, by the way.
Oh, sorry, Ivan.
Well, it's easy. You just get another 3. You just tape it to the side of it. It'll be fine. Look at Shane once again. You know, he's just so unprofessional in these things. And I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, since I am Angelo Marino right now, but we'll clean all of this up later on.
So before that, I see people posting in the chat about the JJ number. So one thing we do know, number he won't have is 1.
Yes, that's a big.
I was like, what are your thoughts on that cornerback wearing the number 1?
I'm not. It doesn't matter to me. You know, like I'm not a big fan of the 0 number. Anything else to me is pretty much fine, as long as it's not like a. You know, Andrew Billings wear a number 1 where, you know, it's like some big 350-pound guy. Other than that, I don't really care. But I do think, you know, I know Shane made a comment about it on Twitter saying, you know, thought the locker room was going to get fractured in the first available option. He ran and got number 1. So I think we're going to be all right.
I think they're going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
And you can see the team isn't already embracing him, like Jaquan Brisker has been all over.
How about DJ Moore too, right? He hadn't been on site the whole time, and then Caleb comes in for a few interviews, and sure enough, DJ Moore is there. I think, like all of us, you watch a little bit of tape and you go, "This is exciting. I could do this. This guy might be all right." But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's been kind of a quiet couple of weeks post Justin trade, so I've enjoyed it.
You're on mute, Shane.
There you are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. I'm not dead, I promise.
Good. That was touch and go.
Yeah. Wow. That one snuck up on me. I'm not going to lie.
Well, we'll get you one of those life alert bracelets.
Yeah, I know. I'm falling and I can't get up. Yeah. But you guys were talking about jersey numbers. Yeah, so it really looks like Caleb Williams is going to be number 18 in Chicago. So he's going back to his high school days of Gonzaga High School in Washington, D.C. So that'll be interesting. You can make a customized Williams jersey, any number at NFL Shop or ChicagoBears.com. You can do any number except for 18. Like that guy tweeted out, it'll give you an error code and say that it can't be customized. Only number 18 Williams. So I think the old cat is out of the bag. Dante Pettis took number 81. He was number 18 at one point.
Yep. That's a good call. And, you know, we'd heard all the reports that Caleb's dad or Caleb himself had said at the
Carl
pro day
father.
that Carl had said to him, we're not going to go after 13. 13 is yours. So I think that is that. And it's not fully confirmed, but if you read the tea leaves, the simple fact that you can do a Williams jersey, any other number customized, it seems like it's all but certain.
I'm not going to share who told me this, but let's just say I have an extremely good source, somebody very close to the situation, and he's got multiple confirmations that Caleb will be number 18. So,
I mean,
but it makes sense. They haven't come out and shown that Keenan Allen is taking number 13 yet. There was the fake report that he is taking 15, and that was obviously not true.
yeah,
But
'tis the season for
thanks.
smoke screens.
Thank you, Nano. Now, if I just had lemon, ginger, or turmeric, I'd be all
Turmeric,
set.
yeah.
Turmeric, yeah.
You don't really have much of a shot there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to our guy Angelo, though. We do wish him well.
Absolutely. But it is kind of weird how quiet of a time it's been. Although I'm eternally grateful that the Bruglers, the Beast, did come out this morning, so there's more things to go through. But it's really weird how once Fields went, how quiet everything has truly been. And obviously, you've got the Texas guy who got arrested for DWI. There's all these new Malik Neighbors rumors about his off the field stuff, but then he's also in an interview saying New York needs to get me somebody to throw me the ball.
Yeah, that's not great. That part of it for Malik. I mean, as talented as he is, you gotta have the ability to just shut your fucking mouth when you're this close and not say stuff like that.
I mean, it all makes sense. So we'll kind of. I know today, Shane, I think we've talked about kind of focusing on the 9th pick, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that'll go on beforehand. And yes, King, it's true. JJ is taking the number 1 jersey.
Yep, he is. So Jalen Johnson now number 1.
Now he's him.
Yeah.
Can I get any more people to hate me?
Cars chose violence tonight.
Well, I mean, after my birthday post, when someone's like, "He's such an asshole," how does he get a wife that's that pretty? I'm basically taking the gloves off. Yeah.
You want to say hi?
Yeah.
Good. Hi, Abby.
Can you say hi, Cherie?
Hi, Sherry.
You say hi. Can you say hi, asshole, to the other one?
Hi, Asta.
So adorable. I'll take it.
You having fun?
Yeah.
What she got there? What's that?
Who is it?
Sky.
That's Sky. Yeah, from Paw Patrol. Come on, Cherie.
Yeah, she had pie tag.
Yeah, she got a paw tag.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
That probably cost Daddy $70.
Potter.
Yeah, they're over here though, right? Not that monitor.
Shouldn't you be taking her to Coco Melon again?
No, we're good.
He's gonna be seeing Paw Patrol next.
Yeah, exactly. Let me go on mute and I'll get this situation handled real quick.
Yeah.
Bye, Emmy.
So cute. I remember when my kids started cussing on air. It was a good time for everyone except for my wife. But, we'll get there.
But she giving me a hard time for slipping up.
Yeah, as she should.
I don't understand the double standards around here.
Listen, the sooner you accept there's a double standard for you as compared to everybody else. And according to Shane,
I appreciate the pedestal that
love
I'm
you,
on.
but it is your fault now that my child swears. That's the way I'm telling everybody. Yeah.
You got to start at some point.
Blame me for Emmy saying asshole?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. She looked at you to make sure it was okay before she said it. So clearly it's yours. Your fault.
And we'll have to clip that one, Cars. That'll be our new open for Cars Keys.
That's how my ex-wife says hello to me too, so it works out really well.
Yeah, they're all a pain in the ass. But so I guess, like I said before, I was coughing up along. We're gonna switch it up. We're not gonna really get into the number 1 pick that at this point, unless you're a complete mouth breathing idiot still holding out. We know where that's going, and the intrigue really is going to start at number 9 for us. But beyond number 1, it's really going to dictate what happens after that. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to get into.
Well, I think the only thing I want to say about good old Caleb is I appreciate when, was it Greg McElroy tried to say that he didn't have any adversity, and he instantly went to Twitter and was like, no adversity, huh? And listed some of the adversity he'd been through. Listen, anytime you can start doing that kind of half MJ, somebody said this, and I took that shit personally. Anytime you've got a quarterback willing to do that, I will forever believe that you have all the confidence in the world to play this position correct.
Yeah, they were trying to paint it today. Who was talking about it? Might have been Dan Weeder. He didn't say that it was. He was him and David Howard in a little trying to paint it as a negative, just saying, don't respond to it at all. But I thought the way that he responded to it was calculated and great. You know what I mean? Hey, let's go back to school now. And then he gives you a list of things. And Greg McElroy loves to stir the pot a little bit. And end of the day, he's an SEC guy. So I'm sure he's trying to pub up Jaden Daniels a little bit.
I mean, it's always good to have these takes. I kind of feel the same thing about Dan Orlovsky trying to say that Jaden Daniels is QB1 for him, and it's not that close. Yeah. And you've gotten all these other folks now trying to throw JJ McCarthy as the best quarterback prospect because he played for Harbaugh, right? And all these different things, and it's the season for someone to is it Emory Hunt every year? That's like his fourth or fifth quarterback on his board is always someone completely random that nobody else.
Yeah, his I don't have his guide yet, but it gets very in depth most years. But I think Drake May is his like QB6.
Yeah.
For Emory, I believe. But he's got Caleb is number one for him this year. But he does have some. He's always been known to have some different players involved in the tops of his rankings. Absolutely.
And it's always fun to me. Like, I don't even take it at anybody's credibility. The ones that I take their credibility and pay more attention to are the Bruglers and the others that don't seem to really have ego invested in being the first one to say something, or the only one to stand on this as a mountain. All the talking heads, they've got to come up with something controversial. They all just sit there and say, yep, Caleb Williams is number one, and then they go away. They wouldn't have enough to cover a show 5 days a week. So
we know that that's what this comes down to with the people that are on TV. And if you gave Dan Orlovsky a truth serum, would he really believe that? I happen to not think so, but it is what it is. And it's, you gotta make your way through all the weeds, and some fake reports come out, and you see some stuff. People, I think somebody in the chat had it about Malik Neighbors and people saying that they don't want him in a big city, and it's kind of hard, especially with this draft and the places where he's going to be going. There's not too many places. I mean, I've seen him connected to the Chargers, to the Giants, to Chicago, to pick your team. So, but there was some talk about, and I don't know if it's verified. Albert Breer did allude to it also, that there's a gun charge that came about from Mardi Gras that they're looking into. So.
Yeah, there was one. From down on Bourbon Street. He was arrested at downtown New Orleans, basically.
Yeah. So, but it is what it is. Crazy things are done and crazy things are said. But again, I like him coming out and saying that about the Giants today. Even if that's what you think, just shut your mouth right now. It's no good is going to come from that.
Well, If that's the case, though, I think he's perfect fit for the New York Giants because Brian Dable can't keep his mouth shut and can't stop himself from yelling at every coach and blaming anyone but himself for the failures of everything. So if that's the case, I think Neighbors is a great fit there. Two guys who won't keep their mouth shut, right? So could be fun.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. And this, are the Bears going to go wide receiver at number 9? Are they going to go edge? Byron Murphy is the guy that we've talked about quite a bit and that I've been a fan of. He 100% fits. If he ended up with the Bears even at number 9, would I be completely floored and shocked? Probably not. Probably more so in a trade down, a little bit. But we'll see where this goes, man. There's a lot to talk about for sure.
Well, Shane, I think that's the most interesting thing. Once you get through Washington, because by all accounts, they're absolutely drafting a quarterback. And I think it's Marcus Mariota right now is QB1 for them, if I remember.
Number 0, by the way, Marcus Mariota.
I think this is going to be one of the most trade-intensive top 10s that we'll see. So when you saw last year, like Arizona doing the trade back with Houston and then the trade back up to get PJJ, I think they're not going to be alone. I could see New England trying something like that. I can see Los Angeles trying something like that. And sure, you give up some of the picks that you receive to move back up. But if you're the Chargers and you don't really need a left tackle and you're looking at a right tackle, and I just happen to think like Fuaga is a guy that fits what they want to do really well. You'll drop down to 13, no problem. Someone's going to move up for a quarterback. You get extra picks because it's for a quarterback. And then you'll move right back up to 7, 8, maybe the Bears at 9 to go get the tackle that you need. I can see there's a lot of teams. If you're New York, the Giants, you absolutely need a whole lot more draft capital because of your 2 top 10 offensive tackles are terrible, or you need to replace them. You have no weapons. You have nothing. So there's a very good chance from like 3 on that none of the teams that are right now before us draft before us the way that it is right now. That would not really shock me all too terribly.
Yeah, let me put this up here. Keys Guide. So as a patron, you have access to our Patreon where they are all posted. I mean, if you're talking previous years, literally everything is there. Just search up the one that you want, or you can text me and I'll send you a specific direct link to it myself. So that might be the easiest way. Let me know which ones you want. But Cars, I did a show with Ivan the other day, and I'm not. I myself, I just know the way that I am, and the Bears are low on picks already. But my kind of gut feeling that I don't think is off the table whatsoever is Ryan Poles kind of putting his nuts on the table and saying, I'm going to come out with the 2 best players overall in this draft in round 1 while you're sitting at number 9. So you're taking Caleb Williams at number 1, and it would all be contingent on what happens at 4. There's a lot of smoke saying quarterback. We obviously know Minnesota wants to come up. They have 11 and 23. They would probably be choosing, my guess would be between Drake May and JJ McCarthy, whomever is left over. There's there's a lot of smoke connecting New England to JJ McCarthy at number 3, but I just do not see the Chargers going wide receiver. I didn't, before the comments came out about how they're going to structure their entire team, built off the offensive line And how do you feel about, do you think it's off the table, or do you think it's plausible, or do you just think that it's crazy that Ryan Poles will look into moving up to a number 5 with LA?
So I think 4 and 5 are in play because again, if you're Arizona and you want to build around Kyler because you kind of have to, right? You're kind of saddled with that for at least one more year. Um, I think it makes sense. Again, if you're the Chargers, Slater is such a good left tackle. I don't think you're going to want to look at an alt just because you don't want to draft him and move him to the right hand side. And I think a guy like a Fuaga makes a lot more sense with the way that Jim is. He's as
Right.
insane on the field as Jim is off of it. So yeah, I think your trade up is 4 or 5 to me. And if somebody falls, I still think that 6 is in play for a trade up. And you'll be giving up probably both of your second rounders next year to do so. But to me, if Marvin is there, or even Malik Neighbors is there, I think those are moves you make because you're not drafted in the top 10 next year unless something goes horrible.
Catastrophically. I just know the way that I am, and the way that I can kind of, even if it goes horrible for the Bears, they're still going to be in the way that I have this broken down. Even if you give me the doomsday scenario 1 through 8, I'm still going to come away with a quality, big time player at 9, I feel like. But where was the one? So yeah, Robert, the way this works is, so that's any trade up more than likely to number 4 is not going to be for a wide receiver. It's going to be for that 4th quarterback. And that's the 120% rule, where if it's for a quarterback,
Yeah.
you're overpaying. So, and obviously the Chargers, maybe they love Marvin Harrison enough at 4, they stick. But I just think that they have enough holes myself that they can come down. I mean, they could come away with a offensive tackle or a pass rusher, or who knows, maybe they're higher on a guy like Brian Thomas. I just think that there's a ton of options. I just know overall, I don't think that I could pull the trigger on it, knowing the way that this draft is, specifically within the top 10.
To me, there are 3 players that you can convince me that you do this for. That's Marvin, that's Malik Neighbors, and that's Alt. Right? Like those 3 guys to me, once you get past kind of Alt, it's kind of like Caleb to the next left tackle. I think Fuaga could play left tackle. I think Olu is most likely the next left tackle, but that leap from Alt down is just as big of a gap as it is from Caleb Williams to quarterback number 2. And that's just strictly speaking from a left tackle perspective. So if it's for one of those 3 players, I completely understand it. I think second round picks are something that are both valuable but also overvalued, because I think, it becomes the old Peter Griffin, I do this timeshare. If I do this timeshare, I get a boat. I get to the end and they're either going to give me a boat or the box. And he's like, I want to get the box because the box could be anything. It could even be a boat. So instead of the sure thing, you take this. And again, for every Pickens that has an explosive 1,000-yard season, Alec Pierce has been solid but unspectacular in that second round pick, which is a guy that we looked at. So if it's one of those 3, Shane, I understand and I'm going to go through it. But I'm also, but I think you also look at the 30 visits, and the Bears are kind of preparing for what you call the worst case scenario. And I think you're on mute.
The doomsday scenario.
Yeah, the doomsday scenario. And so I think they're looking at those trade down scenarios as well. The thing that I like the most so far about Poles is that he is prepared on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
They've done their top 30 visits for guys that would be there, and they've done their top 30 visits on everybody's favorite center prospect who seems to be falling quickly out of the first round for a lot of prognosticators at this moment. So I think it's and probably to answer this scenario, Shane, the doomsday scenario to me is Alt, Neighbors, Marvin, and Odunze are all gone before 9. Would that be your take as well?
Yeah, I mean, but see, there's other guys that I'm just so high on. It's hard for me to even have a doomsday, or I guess you could throw, just JJ or being available. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
not 4 quarterbacks not going before pick 9. That would be, and teams just decide to sit on it. But the draft gets weird. I just like I said, I know the way that I am. I can't get over the fact that I just have this feeling that Poles is like, you know what? I'm not gonna have this shot again. And if I can come away with the 2 top players available in this draft, and I'm at number 1 and number 9, and I have to mortgage some in the future to get it done, I just don't think it's off the table for Ryan Poles.
I don't think it
I just don't.
should be.
Yep.
If remember coming into this, so many people weeks ago were saying Marvin Harrison is the best player in this draft. Marvin Harrison is a future Hall of Famer. He's a guaranteed talent. To your point, Shane, if it's number 5 and Marvin's there because it goes Caleb, Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Drake May, and you're the Chicago, look what Houston did last year. Will Anderson, CJ Stroud. You're talking about what are the premier positions in this league. And when you want to help a rookie quarterback as much as possible in this scheme, you're telling me like we're going to trot out week 1 and you're going 3 wide and it's DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison, Keenan Allen, and Cole Kmet. Like
And you're not even talking about Gerald Everett.
Yeah.
In that scenario. And DeAndre Swift as your exit plan. It actually this is completely off topic, but you brought up Dan Orlovsky and I heard exit plan. Jaden Daniels on the season, when he ran, threw the ball 16 times.
Yeah, when he was on the move out of the pocket.
When he was on the move. 16 times. That's crazy, Cars. And this is what we talked about in our breakdowns. And I don't want to go down the Jaden Daniels wormhole, but even on tape, we said repeatedly when we were breaking down Jaden, when Caleb Williams is escaping, he's escaping with his head downfield to make a play with his arm.
We even
first
gave
and second.
Justin credit for doing that much better this past year as well. You're absolutely right.
And it's just when I think it was Albert Breer that had that stat when he was on with Cap and Jay Hood. I'm like, 16. That is crazy low. And it's just, is that going to get better for him in the pros? Hell no. No.
Isn't that insane when you think about it? Like it, and that's the thing is some of these phrases are so overused. And one of my least favorite when it comes to a quarterback is pro ready, right? This person is the most pro ready. None of these guys are, other than Caleb, are pro ready from a mechanic standpoint, from any of it. Like Michael Penix Jr. is great on the deep ball. He's terrible on the intermediate ball. Jaden Daniels, if he moves out of the pocket, he's running, he's not throwing.
But Cars, I would take Penix over Jaden Daniels or Drake May.
Oh, because I think his stuff is more coachable.
Yeah.
The intermediate.
And
You
I
know,
would be scared to death to draft Penix just because of the injury history. I'm just talking based purely on what I see. And whenever you do a quarterback, there's got to be projection involved. I'm just not there with May, especially, and even more so to Jaden Daniels. I would if I had to choose between Jaden Daniels and Drake May, I'm drafting Drake May. And I'm not even a big fan of Drake May.
oh, I wouldn't. And it's fascinating to see because if you did this a year ago, Drake May looked so much better, so much more in control, and Jaden Daniels looked terrible. 1 year staying extra, and all of a sudden those inflated numbers, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
Jaden is number 2, and he's there. I'm just as terrified of JJ McCarthy, who I think is a pretty good ceiling, but that guy's not been asked to do much of anything at Michigan. The way they run the ball, the way that offense is structured. And he reminds me a little bit of kind of those guys that come out that he's got it's like the old Michael Vick, right?
Yep.
You need me to throw a screen pass, here it is at 95 miles an hour. Here you need me to throw a deep ball, here it is at 95 miles an hour.
Yeah.
There is no touch on some of the things that he throws. And so it's really fascinating to sit down and kind of and look at all those. And I'm super glad that we're not sitting here having to talk about the next tier of people, because I could talk myself into them, everybody except for Jaden Daniels, and I could talk myself right back out.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Where's my guy? He was asking a question that he's had it in here a couple times. But Jeremy, yeah, so we addressed this at the beginning of the show, so maybe you're a little bit late, but yeah, the scuttlebutt and people that we have talked to had said.
We lost you're muted, Shane.
Jeez, I don't even know how that happened. But that Carl Williams at Caleb Williams Pro Day told Keenan Allen that 13 is all yours. And then just to back that up, if you go on NFLshop.com, ChicagoBears.com, miraculously out of nowhere, if you try to order a custom Caleb Williams jersey, number 18, which was his high school number, you cannot order it. They will not make it for you.
Yep.
You can order a Caleb Williams in any other number, a custom jersey, not 18. And we've talked to some more people that have it confirmed from multiple people beyond that Caleb Williams will be wearing number 18 in Chicago. So that's where all that comes from.
Which was his high school number.
Yes.
So that's where it comes from.
But yeah, so back to the draft cars. I know you got some cars keys slides that you want to,
of course,
because I know we're going to do that, and then we'll get into a mock draft or two, I think, too. And we'll just take a look at some scenarios maybe for number 9 and see where that takes us. But let's dive into
let's do some spreadsheets, which is what everybody comes to Keeping It 100 for is for the spreadsheets. But look, if we're going to talk about 9, the reason I kind of did this is I wanted to throw together just a few quick things of how to view the draft and how to view the teams coming in. So first, let's do this eye chart on the starters. And what I want you to do is this is picks 1 through 15, the teams that are there. The reason I'm throwing this up is to Shane's point, when you get to 4 down, this is where you're going to see potentially a lot of movement. But some of the things that stand out from this is like, if you're a Commanders fan, look at that offensive line, look at that wide receiver group and tight end group, and then understand you're going to add Jaden Daniels to a team that has a terrible line. I think McLaurin is not a true number 1 to me. That's just probably splitting hairs.
Right.
What are you going to do? And so when you want to look at these teams for needs, look at Arizona. You know, they might be out of the tackle market because they just signed Jonah Williams. The Chargers, they're not really that big on Pipkins, but look at that wide receiver crew. Right now, Joshua Palmer is the top. The Giants by far are in the worst situation of everyone. You've got 2 top 10 tackles. Evan Neal finished the season, I feel like, on the bench. Andrew Thomas was terrible. And your number one guy is Darius Slayton, who 2 years ago was nearly cut. They tried to get rid of,
Yeah, they tried to. Yeah.
and he was the best. And then you look at Tennessee. You spent the 10th pick overall on a guy that you had to move to guard because he couldn't play tackle. And you gave up a lot of sacks, and you've got 2 wideouts, and they're older. And so when you look at this, one of the first things you have to start doing is really look at all the players there. And again, if you look at the Bears compared to everybody else, it's insane. Now, Vikings are probably the other one that I would say are very well close. Their offensive line is very good. Their wide receivers and tight ends are really good. Quarterback is lacking, but they've got a great play caller in there as well. So when you start thinking about who's going to be team 9 bullets is the Bears again. So that's why they're missing, because I've already done it once and we're not going to be moving with them. So, and yes, pre-draft, but we do have Caleb because we all know where that's going. So the idea here is look at this list. And so when you start doing your own mocks, go, what is more important? And know that, know the offensive coordinators, know what's changed. And I really want to call this out because it's just really important to view who could be there. Because if look at those quarterbacks, you're talking Mariota, Bailey Zappi, Aiden O'Connell, Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
These are all guys that should not be starting. And so when you start like, what is it? Jarrett Stidham right now would be the starting quarterback in Denver.
Yeah. Well, Cars, that's why the Vegas Raiders tried to make a trade for Tyson Bagent. People don't know that. They tried to trade for him.
And they were hung up on it, which is pretty damn telling.
Yeah.
Overall. And so when it comes to that, I wanted to start at the offensive line. And because I always see that this, and everybody knows my take. So again, this is going to be a bit of an eye chart, but we wanted to throw just a few things. So you'll see we talk about sacks given up, and then you'll see a little bit, and I give a sack rating. And then what I do is I actually remove all the sacks that have been blamed on the quarterback. And what you look at is adjusted kind of sack rate. Now you got to start to look at those other numbers: time to pressure, time to throw, what that difference is. And what this starts to do and starts to paint kind of a picture for you, or what it's trying to do is identify which lines are the worst. So when you see the Bears, where one of the worst teams had given up sacks, but their time to throw was the longest in the NFL, right? Now their sack rate here is kind of right in the middle. So it's around 6.5%, 7% tends to be around 6% tends to be about average. You're seeing some issues. The Giants clearly stand out in that 12% of their dropbacks ended in a sack. And that is with 2 first-round pick tackles. So the fact that they're talking about getting Malik Neighbors, I don't know how that helps them at all, Shane, because how are they going to get them the ball? And so as you just look at this, again, when you're doing mocks, when you're thinking about how this goes, if teams get enamored for a wide receiver, a lot of these teams will be looking to move back. The Bears' offensive line is not as bad as everyone seems to think it is.
It's gonna get more consistent, I believe, at center. I'm not saying that Ryan Bates is going to be the starting center. He's going to help. But what's going to help most of all, Cars, is the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's going to play the biggest role. Just him getting rid of the ball. And people will say, well, he held the ball in college. But you have to – that's why being a patron, scan the QR code down there, go watch our breakdown. There's a reason for all of it. It's not the same as Justin. Oh, he's showing the same issues as Justin. No, he's not. He's not at all. It's not even particularly close. We've broke that all down. He's not. He can get rid of the ball in rhythm. He can get rid of the ball within structure, which was another thing that was put out there by people that was bullshit. And it's Caleb Williams is going to be the number one reason why this Chicago Bears offensive line. Listen, is there going to be some struggles along the way with a rookie quarterback? Yes, there will be. That's part of it. This draft pick isn't just for 2024, guys. And that's not breaking news. It's for 2024. It's for 2030. It's for 2032. It's for way down the line. This is their big move to settle this organization for years to come moving forward. And when you have a quarterback that can get rid of the ball with an elite release, with elite level mechanics that have been proven out, Cars, you saw that
article today, yeah,
that
or yesterday
article.
in the Athletic.
Yeah, speak on that real quick, if you.
Yeah, so the Athletic, who was the person that did it? I can't remember who wrote the article, but someone spoke to a bunch of experts who are basically QB gurus and players that QBs go talk to in the off season, and they ranked all the basically the guys coming in on a 5-point scale across 4 different categories, which is efficiency, adaptability, speed, and then gave them their overall number. And so what you look at is, 1 means that a particular trait is problematic. Number 5 is something that is excellent. So, you know, I'll pick on Jaden Daniels for a second, right? One of the biggest things that comes out is, you know, mechanically it's not an issue, but what they kept saying is keep his eyes up more when he's forced from the pocket. He's creating stress on it, but he's running the ball, to your point, 99% of the time. So of all the quarterbacks that they talk through, so this is Caleb,
Right there it is.
JJ, thank you, Ted Wynn. Of course it's Ryan Cox. He's the
Yeah.
best. I don't know
It
why
was-
he puts up with
It
us.
was Aaron. She was signed in under his account.
What? No, she's too busy in the garbage disposal. But on the 5-point scale, Caleb is the only guy that scored over 4. And to be honest, he scored a 4.9. But when you start looking at Jaden Daniels, he's under 4. Drake May under 4. JJ McCarthy
And the scale was out of 5, correct? He said
out of 5. Correct.
Yeah.
He's 4.9.
4.9.
The biggest thing that they had on him is just speed. But, everything for him was over 4. Every single measurement and number. When you look at Drake May, not a single one was over 4. When you look at Jaden Daniels, I think efficiency was the only one over 4. McCarthy, adaptability was the one thing that they kept hitting JJ is what we talked about earlier, is his ability to layer passes, everything as zip. So when you look at Caleb, like the reason scouts are so thrilled with him is that mechanically he's really good. There's not things that you're going to have to necessarily mess with when it comes to drop back, throwing motion, how he layers throws, etc. And so that makes him kind of the most efficient and ready quarterback. And it's kind of the fact that you just keep reading from a release perspective.
Yeah.
The closest comparison for him is Aaron Rodgers, who has one of the best releases that you'll ever see, is super, super encouraging for us moving forward.
Absolutely. And I'm with my guy Otis here. Really, overall, I'm not sure. Like if the Bears drafted Johnny Newton at 9, I would be pissed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't love that. Or if they drafted Terrion Arnold, a corner, I would be pissed. To me, that wouldn't make any sense at all for them to do anything like that. But overall, I mean, if they stick and pick, I just don't know how you're going to come away. Well, like Cars, I know we haven't had you on, but like Phil and I and Phil and Ivan both agree, they have Jared Verse as their top defensive end. I like Jared Verse, but he's not my top defensive end. I see some stiffness in his pass rush. I wouldn't love him at number 9, but I could also understand it. I just wouldn't love it. I wouldn't be pissed off at it.
Yeah, but you would rather like a Dallas Turner as opposed to a
Yeah.
Jared Verse, which is where you and I line up. Because Jared Verse is also an older
Guy,
prospect.
and that to me that matters. You know, when you're talking about the way that these guys are built and their frames filling out. Where is Dallas Turner just turned 21? You know, where is he going to be in 3 years as a 24-year-old?
Yep.
That Jared Verse will be as a rookie. You know, those things you have to take into consideration. They're different players. I understand it, but I wouldn't be pissed off with Jared Verse at 9. That's the difference to me. Where I agree with Otis. I don't know how they can, if they stick and pick, I don't really know how they can fuck it up.
So I think your definition of pissed is right. It can't be a corner. And there's a few like Olu doesn't move the needle enough for me over Braxton to make that as a move. Like that feels more of a luxury at 9 than anything else. Not that he's not a better pass protector, but he just doesn't jump that needle. But if you're telling me that it's a wide out, if you're telling me it's Verse or Dallas Turner, or you're telling me it's Murphy or, a couple of wideouts, I'm with you. I'm not going to be really upset because you can go edge rusher, interior pass rush with Murphy. You can go wide out or tackle. And I'll pretty much be okay with any one of those.
Yeah, and I see a couple of people had Latu without the medicals would 100% be in play. When you have
fusions are awful.
Well, yeah, and then everybody's going to point to the guy that signed in Houston from Minnesota, and every situation is different. And this hasn't just been one thing for Latu. It's maybe he makes it through year 1.
It's the second contract.
Right. Yeah, and you want to listen, you draft a guy in the top 10, you want him to be around for the second contract, and it's hard enough to do that. When you throw medicals in on top of it, man, those red flags are big fucking blinking neon signs. And I get it. If you remove medicals from it, Cars, he's there. I get it. But when you're talking about a neck, I mean, I saw the back and forth that you had on Twitter with that guy saying, "Oh, you don't really have to use your neck when you're playing defensive end in the NFL." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Neck fusions. So there's two different things, right? There's one to get cleared to play. I don't doubt that he can get cleared to play, but you bring him in because you want to do the medicals, because neck fusion surgeries don't stick when there's constant contact at the neck. So if you draft him, you are going to have to redo that neck surgery at some point. And so the biggest thing you have to look at it in pick 9 is you cannot afford to draft a guy who has that. Like, the best comp I have for that, Shane, is Harold Landry, because didn't he have like the narrowing of the spine?
And down? I believe Latu has that also. And listen, where was it? D. Levine. I picked the wrong one there. He says he agrees, but he hasn't shown any issues for 2 years. Listen, the medicals are going to tell all of that. You're going to see if it's any type of degenerative condition. And listen, man, the Bears have been down this road before. Oh, yeah, Chris Williams, he was removed from teams' boards medically. The Bears took him high, and he lasted one practice in a training camp. One, out with a back injury, had back surgery, lost his his rookie year. And I understand what you see on tape, and it can be intoxicating, but I just I cannot make that take that gamble up there. I can't. I believe you're with me, Cars.
No, remember that this was a guy who retired from football at the University of Washington from this neck injury, and he came back to do it. And if any of you follow Mason West on Twitter, who is I believe he is a physical therapist, he did a thing with PFF Brad where he talked about Leighton Vander Esch specifically, where Leighton said there were times that he couldn't feel his arms in a game from that neck injury, that he would lose feelings off of that. And so that's at the linebacker position, and understanding that that happens. But when you're at edge and you're trying to make a move and you're spinning, what do you think's going to happen? Where do you think contact is? The argument I was getting with someone is like, yeah, it's not as bad as a defensive tackle, but defensive end, especially in rundowns, your neck is in play. So it's all going to come down to what that medical looks like. Teams that it would not shock me to see him go at the back of round 1, or for a really, championship contending team to trade up to in the beginning parts of round 2 to get him. Because if you've got a Super Bowl window right now that you believe in, like the next 2 years, you're the Kansas City Chiefs. All day, I would take a swing at that bat if he's there for me, right? All
Sure.
day.
Yeah. No, I get it there.
But for us, no.
Yeah. No, I mean, that would be, again, I understand the talent, but if the Bears stick and pick at 9 and they came away with Latu, I would be scared to death of, you get a year, you get 2 years out of this kid, and to me, it's just, it's just not worth the gamble. It's really not.
Just look up what a neck fusion surgery is, right? Like, it's bad. It's bad news. And Harold Landry, when he came around, it finally worked out. He fell middle of round 2, I think it was, Shane. And you look at kind of what it did. It took him a while. He has not necessarily stayed very healthy either. He's had a few different injuries throughout. He missed all of 2022, right? And he's got a big salary. So sure, he's got 2 back-to-back double-digit sack seasons, just with a year off in between. So I think you've got to really worry about that. To me, he's a luxury pick because he's not an every down player with that. Like, it'll be like how we deployed Mark Anderson, right?
Right. Yeah.
3rd down, off the edge, rush the passer, do nothing else. And the Bears just aren't at that place to me right now where they can do that.
Yeah, and I mean, Jeremy, we don't have access to medicals, and every NFL team that does have access to his medicals, some NFL teams are going to be more lenient. Leighton Vander Esch was a guy that was off some teams' boards completely for medical, and he was not off the Cowboys. Been a nice player, been injured a lot, and I believe he just retired this offseason.
He did, because he can't get feeling.
Yeah, and it's just
permanently.
Yeah, it's too much of a gamble for me. Like I said, and would I take Dallas Turner over him? Yes. Would I take Jared Verse over him? Yes. Would I take Byron Murphy over him?
Yes.
Yes. And it's not even it's not close. It's just it's too much of a red flag for me. Maybe there will be a team that does it, but you hit the nail on the head, Cars. If you're Kansas City, down there, if you're a team drafting later, like maybe Philly, would they do their changing over to a 3-4. So, we'll see. But just Chicago, you can't do that. And I don't think that they will either.
I think you're right. Without the neck injury, he'd be a home run at 9. Without
Yeah.
it, you don't.
You might not even
blink.
get him at 9 cars. Like I
No.
said, Jimmy Lake was the head coach in Washington that was the defensive coordinator for the Huskies that was recruiting him to Washington. And then he became the head coach, and that's when he had to medically retire.
Mhm.
Jimmy Lake is now the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh yeah, he would be
He
in
would
Atlanta.
be, yeah. So if he was clear medically, I doubt he gets past 8 to Atlanta. Exactly.
Because they're the one team that I think that is going to draft defense in the top 10. They're the only team, and that's only if they stay there. Because again, if you look at kind of that list of what they've got, that's a pretty good offensive line. And you've got Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Rondell Moore, Kyle Pitts to throw to Kirk Cousins. You're not going to make big improvements on offense. They would make a lot more on defense. So I think that you're right. Latu would clearly go there if he was healthy, but I think that's probably the Dallas Turner location.
Yeah, and so Daniil Hunter was in the league for how long before he had his surgery, and Peyton Manning had it how late? They weren't rookies coming out, and that's they were established NFL, big time NFL players at that point.
Yeah, because Hunter had his 4 years ago, I feel
3 or
like.
4 years ago, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
Peyton Manning was at the end of he didn't have too much time left. So I mean, I think that's
But you saw it in the way that Peyton moved
absolutely
after that was nothing. And I know Hunter didn't, but the difference between Hunter and Latu is Hunter had what I think he had like a herniated disc in his neck, where Latu broke his neck, right? Like it was physically had to get fused together.
Yeah, it's just I can't go down there. And
It's crazy.
I saw that, Jay. I'm not sure if I don't think Mel's got too many. I think that's probably Mel's list, not Ryan Paul. I mean, I 100% can see Verse on the Bears list. We'll see how it goes, but it's going to be. I mean, we'll see in just about 2 weeks how it goes. But
hold on, but Bullets, I think you're right. Like you can, some teams will be, but the Bears are not at that position where they can take that chance.
Right. I mean, that would prevent you from drafting anybody because they can potentially get hurt. But are you more at risk when you've already been down that road with such a major injury? Yeah, you are. Do you want a guy that's got a clean slate? If Caleb Williams had injury history with his neck or severe issues with his knee, would it be a factor? Yeah, it would be. It's precisely a direct effect of why Penix is down on teams' boards because the medicals.
Harold Landry is
four separate surgeries that were season enders.
Harold Landry is the best comp. Is back and neck for any defensive player, especially on the line, is the biggest red flag you get. So you bring him in, and the whole reason the Bears bring him in is to get a better look at the medicals. They'll run him through some others, but what they're trying to validate is how healthy is the neck, and do you think you can get to a second contract with it? That's it. You cannot. I think, Shane, your and I point is simply you cannot draft a guy that you think has a 75% chance of not being able to make a second contract.
Right. And it's hard enough to do that in general cars without the injury history. We know that better than anybody as Chicago Bears fans. I mean, the list is non-existent in players that they've re-signed. It's a very, very short list, and we hope that improves with under Ryan Poles in this regime, and I think that we are on our way to that, but it's going to take some time. You want to see where that goes. You hopefully, can right now the way that it's trending, are you re-signing Kyler Gordon? Yes. Is Jaquan Brisker is going to be an interesting thing. Is he based on talent? Is he there? Can you say that he's a shoo-in? No, you can't. Jaquan's been nicked up a lot, and teams look at safeties a little bit different. But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see where this goes. Do you have any more cards that you want to throw up there?
Yeah, the last one I wanted to do too, though, is when you look at the wide receiver rooms. So, again, look at who's got a quarterback. I think it's I will say that the only yeses are the Chargers and the Colts, although, I think the Colts is just simply because of the investment last year. But you got to look at how many of these teams have new offensive coordinators for this year, the vast majority.
Yeah.
How many of them have a true number one that also have a quarterback? So you look at, currently the Bears do not have the quarterback on the roster. That gets fixed. But, for every Minnesota team, right, you've got Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson. Great. But you got Sam Darnold throwing him the ball. And the other thing you want to look at here is that from the quarterback play is when you see yards after catch, you want to marry that up with average depth of target. So like Kansas City had the second smallest depth of target, but they were first in the league in yards after catch.
Right.
So when you see things like, hey, my average depth of target for a team is really 27th or it's 30th, like it is for the New York Jets. The fact that they were 24th in YAC tells you either you had really bad quarterback play, they did. You have very bad offensive line play, they did. And outside of Garrett Wilson, you didn't really get concerned about anyone on that roster. And so again, as the Bears are going through what I've just shown you in each one of these things, where they're looking at the starters for their team, as well as the starters for those around them, who are their trade partners potentially. When they're making a phone call, if you kind of go back to this and they're going to the Raiders, let's just use them as an example. They're looking and they're going, from the looks of this, it could be a wideout, but we know that most likely it's going to be a quarterback that they're going to want to replace for Aiden. So the conversation that they have for value, to Shane's point of like the $1.20 for every dollar for a quarterback pick versus anything else, that's what they're going to know. That's what they're going to try to gauge all of these conversations around. But they're also having these conversations in both trade up scenarios and trade down scenarios, because they're trying to get a sense of what general managers, and again, a lot of those teams have new general managers this off season, of where do they stand on their own roster? How receptive do they seem to be about trading back? Or do they seem to be wanting a heck of a lot, even though the roster is barren? If that's the case, they're locked into a certain type of player. They'll start to ask questions about what type of position do you think you're moving up for, and try to get hold of it. But as all these teams go through and do it, you've got to value who you've got, who the teams around you have, and then make ideas and guesses based off of that.
Right. Zach, we understand, man. You're here every single week saying the same things over and over and over again. That's great. You have Drake May number one. We're not saying that it's bullshit. We're just saying that Caleb Williams is going to be a Chicago Bear in 15 days. And you didn't have the same conversation here last year with Bryce Young. Phil had him as QB1, and that was it from TTNL. Nobody wanted to draft a quarterback last year. You were going to give Justin Fields that year to see how it happened, and the Bears were going to trade down. So that's great, man. If Drake May is your QB1, that's great. I disagree with it. you're right there with, I don't know who has Drake May number 1. That's fine. I don't see it. I wouldn't draft him number 1, and I wouldn't pass up an opportunity for Caleb Williams. It is what it is, but we understand your stance. You come here every week and say the same thing.
I mean, when we talked about it, I said if you were going to draft someone at the Bears at number 1, it would have been Stroud and not Bryce Young because of his size and all of those things. It didn't make sense to draft a guy that small.
Yeah.
But listen, everyone's going to have their beliefs. I just look at him and the way he regressed between last year and this.
Yeah.
You know, those things doesn't mean that he won't have the potential to have a great career, right? Josh Allen, if he had come out a year earlier, would have been liking number 1. You know, like he would have been the first quarterback taken, but he stayed in, and
you went through it with Matt Leinart. You went through it with Sam Darnold. A lot of those guys.
Matt Barkley was the worst one.
That was the word. That was the one I was thinking of over Sam Darnold. Yeah, absolutely. It is what it is.
And it's the difference here, though, is when you talk about Caleb and when folks talk about Caleb, universally it is generational, which is an overused phrase, but it's universally it is the top of the line. So,
right.
You know, it's at this point we know who it's going to be.
And again, Zach, no, I haven't heard anybody here say that you're just having a contrarian point of view. We just disagree with it, and guess what? It's not happening. So I don't know what else to say. They're not drafting Drake May.
And it's the thing I love about the NFL. We all find out.
Yeah, again,
in 2 to 3 years. Yeah. Like how many people? Mac Jones had that great rookie year, right, where it looked like he was up and up. And what happened? Rick Meyer at the time had one of the better rookie seasons, even though it was still pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And people were starting to take victory laps around that. And then what happened? It's not even year 1 that you make these decisions. If you look 2 years ago at Trevor Lawrence, people are like, look at him ascending, and now you're adding Calvin Ridley. And then last year happened, and it was like, pump the brakes. We still don't know who it is. You know, it's what you love about sports. Eventually, we're all going to get proven one way or another. The thing is, you have to admit and this isn't at Zach or anybody, but you're going to be wrong way more often than you're going to be right. Way more often.
If you bat 250 in the NFL, you're elite at your job, and that's the trap that prognosticators and people on social media, everybody falls into, is that, oh yeah, I had this, you know,
I was right on this one.
Yeah, well, start your own podcast, put your face to it, and talk about it. Like I said, I loved Deshaun Kaiser, and I was 100% wrong. There's been other guys that people have told me that I'm crazy and that I've loved and pounded the table for, and I was right. It's the nature of the beast. It's the way that this goes. It is what it is.
I mean, think about it, right? For all these guys that come out and are 5-star athletes and number 1 in their recruiting classes, how many of them make it to the pros? Right? For every Peyton Manning that's a number 1 overall, Josh Allen went to where again? You know, like or Patrick Mahomes was at Texas Tech, and that's why I always laugh when people are like, "Oh, you can't draft Caleb Williams because USC isn't known for their quarterbacks." No one is. There is no quarterback university. We always hear tight end university or linebacker U or whatever it is. That's fine. There's a reason you never hear quarterback university. It is the hardest position to scout.
Carr's what was it? No, 2 years ago. If you went back to, 2 years ago, if you went pre-draft, like early on in the process, I can show you where people had Malik Willis going to Detroit.
Oh God, yeah, he was
They
one that
took
was
Aiden
way up.
Hutchinson, number 2. I think that year that Malik Willis was available, there was tons of people that had him going to Detroit. That's how a lot of these guys, they have connections in the league, and this is the way that it happens. They'll have, let's just say, a corner at, number 8,
Mm-hmm.
ranked number 8. They'll talk to their connection in the league, and they'll say, "Hey, just so you know, you're a lot lower on this guy than people in the league are. Just giving you a heads up." And then when their next list comes out, this guy's miraculously up to number 3
It was like
ranked
the
corner.
corner that Seattle drafted last year, Witherspoon,
Yeah,
right? He was early on. You saw him mid first, and then the whole reason Detroit traded down from 6 was because Seattle grabbed him at 5, and they were not expecting that. You're absolutely right. Like it, there's so many people, Shane, that do this, and again, it's why I have an admiration for Brugler because he has really good contacts in the league and he
yeah,
marries those things up. You know, Kuiper, especially post the whole indie thing, he's got no connections in the league. Everybody hates him. He does some decent work, but for most of these prognosticators, you can do a history on guys like Malik Willis and others
yeah.
that all these people are like, this is the next coming. Just watch. He's going to go way higher than you think. And the other way around it is, the Powers Jackson from Oregon, right? We had
Johnson, yeah.
people Johnson, excuse me. We had people mocking him to the Bears at 9. And now reports are coming out that he's one of the fallers in this draft because
Mhm.
of injuries and other things.
He's not my number 1 center in this draft, and I don't think it's a hot take, and we'll get into that with our patrons here as we get a little bit closer, but I would take Graham Barton to be my center all
Yeah.
day long and twice on Sunday over Powers Johnson. That's just me. Maybe I'm going to be proven to be wrong. I'm putting my face to it and my name to it.
And I think you have to. And that's the hard thing is we've all been in doing kind of mock drafts where you get fatigue for it, right? Because
Sure.
someone will go out on Twitter or their YouTube channel and post 47 mocks in a day that they did with all these different scenarios and all of these different things. But even with those mock tools,
Yeah.
they're like, we're going to take from all the public boards.
Right.
That means they're
Yeah.
taking from Walter Football, Brugler, Matt Miller, CBS Sports Line, Sports Illustrated, all these different places to do it. Most of these folks are like the rest of us. They don't have connections. They're just doing it because they enjoy it and they can see some things and break some things down. But look at the way the draft happened last year. Nobody was expecting that. No one was expecting Jameer Gibbs to go 12th overall. Like
Yeah.
it just it's every year the draft comes around. It's just insane.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man, and it is what it is, and I guess there's still people out there holding out hope that the Bears are gonna, move in a different direction, and it's not gonna be Caleb, and it's it's been done. It's been done
It's
for a
been done
long
since
time.
January.
Yeah, no, I agree, and the fact that Caleb's not taking any, he made 130 visit says a whole bunch. He's going to be a Chicago Bear in 15 days, and then then the real work starts, then the fun starts, and we'll see what happens after that. But I think people that are holding out hope or, um, that they're not going to do this, I think that they're going to be very, very upset come draft night.
And you know what? I think one of the things that still remains underappreciated about Caleb is just how high the ceiling is and truly how high the floor is.
Yeah, yeah, I
This
agree.
isn't This isn't Josh Allen where the ceiling is really high, but if he didn't get his mechanics working, that floor is terribly low. This isn't Zach Wilson again. This isn't Trey Lance again. This is a guy who has done it. Someone had posted, the stat that at USC over 2 years, Caleb Williams didn't fumble or throw an interception on third or fourth down
Right.
for 2 years. That's an insane statistic.
Right.
And there are things that he's done that are different. I think what ends up happening with all these guys is we start doing comps, which are always the worst thing ever. It's like, oh, I see him. There's another Mahomes. He's another this. Mahomes wasn't Mahomes. There was no Mahomes prospect like him. There were no people like him. I just don't want to so once things start to get too good, we start to just tear these people apart.
Yep.
And we start to prop up. You know what? It's fine. Again, we'll see in a year. But Shane, Caleb, if we do this, and let's just say we do make the move up and we get Marvin Harrison Jr., we're going to have, from our rookie quarterback, a record-breaking season for Bears history.
Yeah, and again, Carson, I know we're the people that are against this, where they're going to go, and it's, again, is there going to be ups and downs? Yes, there is for every rookie quarterback. But as I said about 40 minutes ago, this isn't just for 2024. This is for the next 10 to 15 years, if it works out. Having a big time quarterback, that is the play. Now there's a ton that has to go right in between now and then. But if people say, oh, well, this is a bust because he didn't take you deep into the playoffs as a rookie. Listen, if he won the Super Bowl as a rookie, there would still, if that's your thought process, you're fucking flawed from the start. I'm sorry. Just that is a fact. It's a fact. You're never gonna change. Oh, he threw for 35 as a rookie. Justin would have thrown for 38 in year 4, which is it is what it is. It's nauseating. Justin's gone. Drake May is not going to be here. Jaden Daniels isn't going to be here. Caleb Williams is going to be the Chicago Bears quarterback. End of story. Just fucking deal with it. Now let's turn the page on that nonsense and let's start talking about some scenarios for number 9. I think that's kind of what we were talking about here initially, Cars, with with everything.
So I don't know about you, though.
Yeah.
But if we go into this, so I think we can guarantee that the first two, it really seems like, are Caleb and Jaden Daniels. The intrigue starts at 3. I am of the belief that New England is going to draft J.J. McCarthy there.
Yeah.
I don't know about what you feel about that, but I think
I told you Tony Pauline here in New York said, and he said, just go ahead and write this down. And Tony Pauline is very locked in. He said the first curveball of the draft will come at number 3. And that Elliott Wolf loves J.J. McCarthy, and he fully expects J.J. McCarthy to be the pick to the New England Patriots at number 3.
Yeah.
So that would leave, I mean, it seems like Adam Schefter, Albert Breer, more and more people are coming out and even doubling and tripling down that it looks like it's going to be Jaden Daniels, number 2 to Washington. We'll see. Like I said, sometimes things get put out there, but let's just say under that premise that it goes Caleb 1, Jaden 2, and then JJ at number 3. Then number 4,
that's Minnesota.
Yeah, you would think so. And I mean, how would you turn that down if you are Arizona? If you can go back, you can get 11 and 23 and plus.
And you're going to move back up again if you need to.
Yeah,
but you need a right tackle. Sure. This isn't you need because now you're moving Paris from right to left. I think you're right. And I think the best case scenario is, and in Minnesota, again, if you want to draw the tea leaves, right? Josh McCown knows Drake May. His son is good friends with Drake May. Like there's a lot of tie-ins there. So Minnesota for Drake May makes a lot of sense at that point in time.
Right. Yeah. And so we'll see how it goes. So Cars, I'm gonna bring this up here and we'll share it and we'll get into some mock draft fun that everybody
Doesn't love a
loves.
good, this way I can sit down and when the Bears draft someone, I can be like, I did it too. It was in my mock draft 437 version B, and did it.
All right. I just made that a little. Can you guys read that okay? Or
it's close enough, but yeah.
All right. So I know Zach's going to be pissed off, but number 1, we're taking Caleb Williams. All right. So let's get down here to see the way that this worked out. So Drake May went number 2, and Marvin Harrison goes number 3. Adunze goes above Neighbors.
Yeah, let's go. Can we do this where we take and pick being the first eight teams?
We'll do it next. I just wanted to see. That was my plan to do it next. I just wanted to kind of see, where this works out for us. But so Cars, under the the way that this goes, what do you think that New York does? Do you think that they're in the quarterback realm? You think that they're going to go back to offensive tackle?
I mean, if I'm them, the way this would look right now, I am taking all offers and moving back because you still got 2 quarterbacks. It's still Mark McCarthy. It's still Daniels. You could get a haul here because I don't think you can. If I were them, I would be drafting alt.
Yeah.
All
so
day.
The word here in New York, and I've heard this more than once. Like I said, I'm not locked and loaded on the Giants by any means, but the overall consensus here is that the Giants have zero interest in moving up for a quarterback, but if one fell into their lap at 6, they would take one. Now, is that the smoke that you're putting out there that you better come to 6 if there's one available to get your guy? Could be.
Well, you got to I think we can almost all but safely say that Bullett's favorite head coach prospect, Brian Daboll, sorry, buddy, I love you, is done after this year. Like, if anybody read the piece on how bad that locker room stuff was and everything, this is the last year that they are really forced into having Daniel Jones, right? His dead cap number is 48 million. His dead cap number is 69 million. So it's another 21 million. The next year, his cap number drops and his dead cap comes down to 20 million. So you're not going to play that quarterback this year.
Right.
And you're not going to put him behind an offensive line that gave up 85 sacks, 71 of which were on the offensive line's fault. So it would, I know Breer even said they would consider drafting one if one fell, but that would be the biggest mistake because I think then you're going to be in the Bears situation the last couple of years where you have a quarterback. His first year is with a lame duck coaching staff who is going to get replaced because all the warts started to really show in year 2.
Right.
To me, this should be the way this has gone. That should be alt for them, and I'm glad that came up.
Yep.
The next pick is just laughable. The next 2 picks are pretty laughable to me.
Well, so this was another thing for Tony Pauline. Now, he connected Terrion Arnold, but this is a guy that Quinyon Mitchell. So another thing that Tony Pauline said is everybody is writing in pen an edge rusher to Atlanta at number 8. And he said, do not forget about cornerback.
You know what? I get
They
it.
do
'Cause
they do some weird things down there, man. I mean, they're not afraid to. They have their guy. They're going to pick their guy. I wouldn't be.
I would not
I
have
wouldn't.
made any of their first round picks the last 3 years, from Kyle
Yeah,
Pitts to Drake London to Bijan. It
yeah.
would not have been what I went with it.
Oh no. I hear you. So now we are in Chicago, and the Bears are on the clock, and obviously this is PFF's board. This is not my board. Um, so Brock Bowers, Fuaga, Murphy, Fatanu, Dallas Turner. So in their updates, they've moved Dallas Turner down. They've moved Jared Verse down. They've moved Fashanu way down.
Latham has fallen down too.
JC Latham is a guy that the Bears have had in for 30 visit. But look at this. Look who's way down here, Cars. This is another guy that they've
Look at that.
moved.
Rank 21st, average draft position,
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. No, it really is. So Cars, at this point, so are you who are you interested in? So
If
we got
Jaden Daniels is there, you're moving down. Someone's moving up for a quarterback right here. And so you're talking to Vegas.
So
And
you have 4 teams that are interested in
I bet you Vegas and Denver is one. Oh, the Saints.
So the
Wow.
Saints, the Bengals, the Washington Commanders, and Cleveland. So you got number 14 and number 18. And this is where these simulators get wonky, because Cars is 100% correct. Now, are you hanging up the phone if Minnesota comes calling you, unless they want to give you? Now, the way that I would not hang up the phone, I would say, Minnesota, you want your quarterback?
11 and 23.
11 and 23, or I'm hanging up the phone right now and we move on. It's that simple. That's what you do. I mean, yes, you're making a move within the division, but it's going to cost you. So you have the 120% price because it's a quarterback, and then when it's in the division, that gets pushed up even more. But you're correct. You'd be talking to Minnesota, you'd be talking to Denver, you'd be talking to Vegas, you'd be talking to all of those teams.
Yeah, because it drops you down 4. Because in that scenario, when you look at that board, you've got the Jets at 10, who are desperate for offensive line help.
Yep.
You've got at 11, 12, and 13, you've got quarterback, offensive line, wide receiver needy, quarterback needy teams. So you will comfortably move back and look at and say, hey, look, I got a good shot at Dallas Turner still being there. I got a great shot at, Byron Murphy still being there. I've got all of these decisions, and so I'm trading down 10 times out of 10 at this point, because this is kind of your nightmare scenario. Alt is gone, the top 3 wideouts are gone. I'm moving down.
So what are you more interested in? So the teams that are offering right now are New Orleans at 14 and Cincinnati at 18.
So in a normal scenario, it would be New Orleans, because it would be for a quarterback. So there would be, Cincinnati, again, that's where it's wonky. I don't know what they'd be moving up for.
And listen, and so this is the way that we do things here, and you have to look at things from a GM perspective. So you have to think about 2024. Let's say that everything goes right in Cincinnati, and are they going to be? So are any type of future pick that you get thrown in there is probably going to be lower in the round because of Joe Burrow, because of Jamar Chase, and depending on what happens with Cincinnati. And I've seen a couple of people say, try the trade down with Cincinnati and get T. Higgins, but I don't think the Bears are in that mode to give a guy a franchise altering deal at wide receiver when they're
wants
going
to be a number 1. Right. Part of the reason he's unhappy is he wants his chance to be number 1. He would not be that here.
Yep. So New Orleans has number 45. So obviously we're going to be demanding that back. So now that puts it at 50% shot to get it back. So Cars, just on its surface, would you make the move from 9 to 14 just for 45, or do you want
No, I think
3?
that's, and I think that is, and I don't like the fact that that's great. Maybe you do a pick swap where you'd say 150 and 122, right? So that they can move up a little bit and you move back. Something like that would make a tremendous amount of sense. But yeah, if you give me 14 and 45, it gives me a lot of space here.
Yep. So let's see. And usually 50%, they're pretty good with it. But again, they're gonna be interested in the way that these simulators work out. They'll end up trading up and not taking the quarterback. So
Of course, it'll be, yeah.
so they have accepted the trade. So now we are moving back to 14, and we picked up the 45th pick in the draft. And let's see who they took. They took Jaden Daniels. So that worked out. So Fatanu goes right off the board to the Jets. And he's a guy, Cars, that, I mean, he's got to be in play for Chicago. I don't know how you
They
feel
need
about him.
guard. I mean, to me, Fatanu is a guard, right?
Yep.
Like you're moving him in. Much like Brisker, you can't, sadly, as good as he is when healthy, I can't count on Tevin, and I can't count on Nate Davis mentally, right? Like both of
Right.
them are problems. So he's absolutely on board.
All right, so we're gonna run this right to our pick. We'll see who comes off. So Fuaga goes and Fashanu. So you've seen your mini run at tackle,
Which I think is what's going to happen, because once you get through sort of these folks, it to me, there's a big drop. There starts a drop off, right? And it's not as, not gonna say like it's earth shattering, but once you get through kind of, I'm not the biggest Mims guy. He concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, there's some concerns their way from the football field. We'll just say with some teams. So so now Cars, so we have been offered, there's 3 teams. Yeah, so it's nobody. That's the next closest pick is San Francisco, Tennessee, and Atlanta. So
you're picking here then.
Yep.
In that case.
So let me hear your scenario here at 14. And what do you want to look at some positions? And I mean, I think I know where you're probably.
This is going to come down to Murphy or Turner to me, right? At this point in time. And
so, just so everybody knows, so Jared Verse is available, Dallas Turner, Byron Murphy. To me, Newton is not a consideration. Cooper DeJean, Terrion Arnold, good player, isn't a consideration. J.C. Latham would probably be a consideration. I just don't think he's very high on the list with the guys that are available. So essentially, Cars, it's Byron Murphy, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse. And in my book, it would probably be, I would have no problem if it was in that order specifically.
What was that order?
Murphy, Turner, Verse.
I would think, and again, if you watched Montez Sweat on Chris Long's podcast or interview, watch the way that he lights up when he talks about Dexter Jr. and how the sky is the limit for that kid. If putting myself into polls, I think they would bet on Dexter being the 3 technique and look at adding Dallas Turner on the outside. So to me, the pick would be Turner.
Okay.
I would not be upset with Murphy, but if it fell this way, Dallas Turner makes the most amount of sense for what they need.
So what if we looked at it like you could do Murphy here and then maybe target like a Braswell at 45.
That doesn't really move it as much, but I like your thought process, Shane, because it kind of does go back to last year where it's like, you know, Jalen Carter and a tackle or Darnell Wright and Dexter Jr. Right. So I like viewing it that way. Because I think, if you look at it, what I think once you get past Murphy and Junior, you're probably looking at a Mike Hall Jr. is probably the type there, and I think it would make more sense to look at it at. To me, I like Turner and Mike Hall more than I would like Murphy and I don't know why Waswell. Yeah, so I think that's the way that I view it.
All right, so let's I'm gonna let you make the call here, Cars.
To me, it's Dallas Turner all day, every day.
All right. Well, we're gonna turn that in.
He's got the long arms, right? He's got decent. He's got really good speed. He's 21 still.
So we could have made the way that it ended up working out. We could have made the trade with Cincinnati and still gotten Murphy. So the Rams get their Aaron Donald replacement in Byron Murphy at number 19. And so back
I would
to
like
back.
that pick for Cincy though. J.C. Latham would really help their offensive line.
All right, so we're just about through the first round here, Cars. So Brian Thomas ends up. Philly goes with Jerzon Newton. Graham Barton goes. So now he's not a tackle. He played tackle in college, but he's going to end up being a center in the NFL. Jackson Powers Johnson goes 27 to Arizona. Tyler Guyton is another 30 visit guy for the Bears. A.D. Mitchell goes to Baltimore.
That fits the mold of a lot of what they've done.
Yeah. So let's run this up a little bit. So we're 5 away. So J.J. McCarthy falls way down. So this is how illogical this is. I mean, I feel like J.J. is going to end up going top 5 all day. So Fisk goes 35. Darius Robinson goes to Washington at 36.
Zach Frazier, I think that's a good spot for him.
Yeah. So, all right. So now we're 1 pick away. Chop goes to, so Braswell goes to 40. So he did not make it to our pick at 45. Chop. So to your point, Cars, you have your run of edges here with Darius Robinson, Braswell, and now Chop. Roman Wilson, who the Bears, Josh Lucas is not a fan of, clearly.
Yep.
I don't know if you heard him talk about that. All right, so TJ Tampa goes to Vegas 1 pick before Chicago.
I mean, you're clearly drafting Bo Nix here, right? It's the greatest value.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, this kind of goes back, wow, Penix is there too still. Pearsall's an interesting one. Jatavion Sanders is one that I am a fan of in his ability there.
So Jonah Ellis is Emory Hunt's number 1 edge.
Emory, anyway, I'm not going to say anything that's going to do me any positive, so I'm going to just leave that there. Sure. Let's just go with sure.
But so what
let's look at the wide receiver group here though as well, if we could.
Yeah.
Because I think this is another one where it makes sense. If you look at so Pearsall scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to like there. He's an older prospect also, but I mean, he is very good. I'm a Burton fan. I couldn't pull the trigger here.
Nope.
Keon Keon Coleman, I know he's very, very young, still only 20 years old, 6'4", 215. I know Phil's a big fan of Coleman. He's been a hard grade for me.
You watch that tape and you see the stuff that flashes, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but I want more. Every time I watch him, I see something happen and I'm like, that's great. Show me more of that. And it just doesn't flash at all. And no,
Franklin is gone. Yep.
Shane, I don't know about you, but I am really big on the kid out of Western Kentucky, Corley. And
Malachi Corley.
yeah, that's a kid that I'd be looking at there. And I think if you look at tackle, God, none of those really do anything for me.
You can look on the interior. Now, so I'm different than a lot of people here. I have Haynes in my top 50. And I know a lot of people do not.
So Haynes is interesting to me just from the sense of, God, I'm trying to remember, he's an older guy.
I don't know if they have his age on here. I haven't. Yeah, they don't have it on here. I mean,
I'm looking on here. I'm looking on the Beast. Yeah, Haynes is 24.
Yep. But just based on tape, I have him in my top 50, and I think he can start on the inside, and I love him at center also. But no, with who is available here, I don't think I would pull the trigger. But yeah, and Van Pran is a guy that I do like, and you can probably wait on him a little bit. But
I think here, to be honest, with the way this has gone, the Bears would look very heavily at a wide receiver position. I think we can't talk about them trading up for one, and understanding that these guys aren't at the same level. But I really look at this at going, I don't think it's Coleman, but I don't really think this is the place that I see the Western Kentucky kid really being in play. Very similar to Tank Dell and kind of what Josh Downs did last year for Indy.
Would you be an unworthy here? He's been in a top 30 visit for Chicago.
Yes, because as drafting him to be a number 1 or a number 2 wideout would scare me incredibly. But if you're telling me like you've got such great route runners with DJ Moore and Keenan, to have one guy to just pop the top off at any point, that would be a fantastic draft position for them as well.
All right, so Polk is interesting. McMillan is interesting. I just, the Xavier Worthy, obviously, I mean, he's got some things. And again, very, very young. He's not even 21 yet. Definitely the type of wide receiver that the Bears do not have when you're talking about a legit deep threat. And when you have the Yak monsters in a Everett and DJ Moore, and now with a Keenan Allen, and I throw DeAndre Swift in there, Cars.
Yep, absolutely. You have to.
Yeah, you have to throw him in there. Having a true guy that can take the top off, I see where that can be absolutely intoxicating for a franchise.
It goes back to that Kansas City model. When they were drafting the Mecole Hardmans of the world, and Rashee Rice, who we'll see what happens with him there. But
yeah,
you're looking, when you get to the second round here, you're looking for traits, right? You're looking for skills that make you a little different.
Yep.
And in this position, I would not be opposed to saying, yeah, give me Xavier Worthy as just someone, New York did take decent advantage of Jalen Hyatt in a similar position last year without a true number one, and he did take he did make some things happen. Worthy here would be a really good, fun ad, and he wouldn't have a tremendous amount of pressure to go. So Worthy to me, Corley, I think would be in play here for the Bears. If McConkey was here, I think he would make sense for the Bears. But I'd even look at Walker. I know he had some dropsies in the Senior Bowl this year, but
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy, I think, because of a trait, makes a tremendous amount of sense here.
Yeah, and so the somebody had asked the what trade. So it's 64, 67, and 72. So you'd be dropping significantly.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm going to make the call on this one, Carr. So we're going to stick and we're going to pick here. We're going to add some explosion in the Windy City and give our quarterback a weapon. And Xavier Worthy is now a Chicago Bear.
I mean, that's kind of fun to think about because you also still have Tyler Scott. So you've got two younger kids when you want to go four that are really going to give you different layers of the field and different options to attack.
Yep, and so now you see, so the edge comes off the board immediately after, and then you see the wide receivers start to pop off the board. And Pearsall,
Love
Keon,
saying Penix to the Steelers because that makes a whole lot of sense.
oh yeah, Mitch, Justin had a bad day. Burton goes to Philly with back-to-back wide receiver picks. That's definitely interesting. Keon Coleman and Jermaine Burton.
Well, I think I know he was injured and we've talked about this, but Jalen Hurts took a massive step back last year, and there have been rumors that AJ Brown is very problematic in the locker room. So them doubling down on wide receiver absolutely makes sense.
So again, you see it continued here. Cars, Jalen Polk goes, your guy Sanders goes, Xavier Legette. The Bears, this has been another visit for the Bears. Kid from Yale, Tez Walker, Christian Haynes, last to 66, Braylon Trice, Max Melton. I heard Rick Spielman talking about he is a guy that is widely regarded much higher within the league than he is with draft prognosticators. So he's going to end up going higher. I'm a big Jalen Wright fan.
I
so
like him a lot. Yep.
Yep.
If you didn't draft Sweat or sign Sweat, I think he would have made a lot of sense to the Bears. But kind of post that signing, I don't think he's in play.
Yep. So Edgerrin Cooper, if you needed a linebacker, he's a hell of a linebacker, but the Bears aren't in play there. Do you have any take on Dorless?
I don't have any take on him.
Yep. I know Big Steve is a big Blake Fisher fan. Feels like he is a starting tackle in the NFL. But Cars, what is? Do you have a position that you're looking more so for?
Well, I think here you're looking interior line, both offense and defense, if it's there, right? I think that's kind of where you'd be looking.
Yep. So let's bring that up so we can actually put both of them up here. We can do the interior offensive line and the defensive interior. So Dorless is there, highest ranked. Van Pran, who we broke down there. You brought up Michael Hall, who actually, I believe they don't have his physical updated. They have him at 280. He weighed in at his pro day at 299 and still showed the explosiveness. Again, another very, very young player. I guess what's the consensus in the chat? What are you guys looking to do here? If we're talking interior offensive line and defensive tackle.
The reason I really like him there, though, is you start looking at that three technique kind of as a rotation.
Yeah.
The concerns about Hall's size are going to be a lot more limited if Dexter Jr. is going to be kind of there alternating, or Dexter and Billings are going to be on the other side of him, taking more of the abuse. And to
Yeah.
your point, age is another thing. For me, Hall is miles above a prospect than Van Pran, and that's a guy that I'm really excited would be really excited to.
Yeah,
to
and I
add.
can see. I mean, he's a if people don't know what DPR, it's a designated pass rusher, and those those guys can be worth their weight in gold. And with him being so young, and you want him to kind of build out, but I think it was Creighton that said that you do need part of that defensive tackle rotation. We don't know, what Pickens is going to be in year 2. Is Jervon going to take that massive next step? I happen to think that he is going to, but having another guy that can create havoc on the inside of the defensive line is going to make guys like Dallas Turner better, guys like Montez Sweat better. It's going to make the linebackers better. It's going to make the corners better. So I totally understand the thought process. Now, Hall missed a lot of games due to injuries. I don't have, like I said, I do not have access.
His freshman, he played 12 the last 2 years, but it was his freshman year he did miss.
Yeah. So, yeah, and so his snaps by alignment, 2023, he played 37 snaps in the A gap, 346, obviously in the B, and over tackle 27 snaps, and off ball, actually played him off ball 3 snaps. So yeah, he definitely played a lot, but Jeremy says trade back. We can just look at that just to see what is available. So we're covering all of our bases.
You got to remember this draft falls off hard at some point during round 4.
Yeah, and that's exactly why Ryan Poles has done what he's done. So you're Atlanta at 79, Seattle at 81, Dallas at 87, Tampa at 89. So they're all compressed kind of in a small area from 79 to 128 cars. Are you entertaining any type of a trade down from
No,
75?
because I don't when you start looking at the next picks, right? You're talking in the hundreds. It's just, to me, it's not anything. So Hall for me is the person. I understand what folks say about needing to protect. Again, my stance remains that the line is not as bad as folks think that it is. But if you wanted to add another interior guy for the offensive line, sure. But I think Hall here makes the most amount of sense to add to that rotation to kind of be your Justin Jones replacement, and gives you a lot of upsize here.
So let me just check one. So like I said, we're offering, so we are at 75. So let's just look at Atlanta just to see what they have. So they have 79 and 109.
109 is really getting to the edge of just like, jeez.
Seattle has 81 and 102. Dallas has 87 and 174. Tampa has 89 and 92.
That would be the only way that I would make that move.
Well, so could you do 75 and 122?
Yep.
For 89 and 92.
Yep.
So we can try. Let's see how that goes. So we'll do 89 and 92 for 75 and 122. That will likely be accepted. So we can probably grab something for next year.
I wouldn't even worry. Like, yeah.
Let's just do that. So what is the consensus in the chat for this trade down? Yes, says Jeremy. Top 64 next year. So yeah, let's go ahead, offer this up, and hopefully, so we're dropping 14. So they accepted. All right, let's see where they went. So they took the linebacker. So So now this is, again, putting on your GM hat. You see Dorless goes. So now are you going to see the run for the defensive line
Absolutely, you are.
coming up? So, all right. So Malachi Corley, Blake Fisher. So we have not seen another defensive lineman going. So now Seattle was interested in trading up for somebody with us at 81. Who do they go with? Seattle goes with Baker. So
Interesting.
you see the run on the wide receivers started. Andrew Phillips,
This is
Jamari
the one
Thrash.
thing that they do get correct is usually the runs, right?
It's-
One guy goes and it spooks a whole lot of teams.
So Thrash, Trotter, Patrick Paul, who I am not high on.
I don't like it all.
No. So is Green Bay going to take your guy Hall at 88 cards? That's what we
Most
look at
likely.
next. Trey Benson, which is a fabulous pick for Dallas. Bucky Irving goes. Didn't they
You know
just?
what?
They took Bo Nix, I think, right?
Yes,
Didn't
they
Green-
did. Yeah.
Jesus, that's funny. But the Bears are on the clock. So I think we're writing down defensive tackle from Ohio State cars. Is that where we're going here, or do you want to?
Yes, we are. No, I think that's to get someone with his profile at his age at this
Yeah.
point is a massive win.
Yep. So Van Pran is there. So to me, just to look ahead cars now, just to cover our bases. So, and you have to go based off this board. So Van Pran is 93. We are at pick 89. Mike Hall is down here at 104. So would the wise choice be to go with Van Pran, and then you only have to wait to 92, or you want to make sure that you get? I know what I would do if I'm in on Hall. I'm taking Hall.
I don't like. So here's the thing: when you get past Hall,
Yep.
defensive tackles are worse. Whereas versus Van Pran, when he goes, you might still be able to see. I don't think is Cooper BB gone yet.
No.
So I
no.
mean, you've got other options there.
No, he's
Mason
there.
McCormick isn't a bad look
Yep.
either.
And I'm a fan
Zach
of Zinter.
Zinter's
Yeah.
fantastic as well. So,
and just in terms of defensive tackle, I am a Carter fan, and I can't. My gut feeling the entire time is that Leonard Taylor is going to end up in Chicago at some point, just because there's some things that you have to get worked out with him. But again, it's a guy that you're gonna, have some time to work with to see if you can unlock. But yeah, so we will do that. Let's stick. We're gonna add Michael Hall. All right, so the Green Bay Packers just took another running back, Bucky Irving and Blake Corum, after their big signing in free agency. So they are doing weird things in Green Bay.
I mean, they do that regardless, right? I mean,
yeah,
they drafted AJ Dillon. You're like, okay, that's your Aaron Jones replacement, and then they paid Aaron Jones. You're like, I don't understand what this is. Or they like to draft double tight ends in years that they do it, right? So
Atlanta at 109 and Buffalo at 128 are offering trades. That's pretty good drop down.
There's nothing there.
Yeah, and I am enough of a Van Pran fan. Like
you
I
can't
said,
go wrong with the value there.
No, well, the way that you have to look at it, Cars, you could things happen. Tevin gets injured. You can move Bates to guard and put Van Pran in at center. And I know
got
you
the
still
kid
have
that you also
Shelton
as well. So
but you have options. You have
options.
And you have a future with Van Pran. He's a guy that's going to be here. Who knows what happens with Bates? Shelton was a 1-year deal. Bates has 2 years left on his deal, I believe.
Yep, correct.
Are they going to? I talked about Brisker when it comes time to extend him. I think they love him, but injuries and all of that, that's 100% on the table with Tevin. We just don't know. Nate Davis is another huge wild card. So adding depth to the interior of this offensive line you can't just say that it's not only is it justified, it's critical.
Well, but I do think some of us are lower on Jatiri Carter than the Bears are themselves. I think he's a very good rotational player. But to your point, I like Van Pran because there are options for him. He can play. He is a leader, right? He's very good in the run game. It's at that point, if you're telling me you come out of this with Hall, Van Pran, Caleb Williams, Dallas Turner, like
we're very happy on Draft Mob breaking those guys down. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. So yeah, Cedric Van Pran makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, Jesus, I just read a comment that I wish I wouldn't have read. But anyways, somebody asked about Cam Kitchens. He's dropping his workout was not good. Still a hell of a player. He's not a player that tests well. He's also a player that the Bears have a lot of interest in. Again, he's not going to be coming into Chicago having to play right off, but he's a guy that you could move forward with. But I just think that, to me, Van Pran makes a lot of sense here. So that is the pick. Cars, and we'll let that go through. That ended up being our last pick. But see what happens when you have the two GMs running these drafts. Is there anybody that hates the pick? Yeah, Cars, you talked about the picks and you didn't even mention Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, I mean, I totally forgot we got him as well. You look at that though, and what you've done is you've drafted players who fill roles, who are traitsy, who can add specific things to your team. But if you come out of this with, your quarterback, starting edge, your third wideout, a rotational defensive line interior guy, a rotational interior offensive lineman guy, that's as good as it gets.
Yep. So the PFF mock draft assistant says that they would have drafted Pearsall over, or we suggested we drafted Pearsall over Worthy, and that's just based off their board, and that's a choose your flavor.
Florida guys, ever since the runs from the old New England days, whenever they would draft a Florida guy in the second round, just make me terribly nervous.
Oh no, I get it. I'm just looking for something here.
Breaking news. The tape never lies. Network. Breaking news.
Eric, welcome to the show. 2 hours in. I like the people that have been here for the entire show had no idea that I sound like shit. Yes,
thanks, Eric. Now I gotta pick up the pieces after this and console him. He's gonna
nobody had an idea. No clue.
Just awful.
So let's unveil. So we get an A+ from PFF and not Zach for the pick of Caleb Williams. Dallas Turner in our trade down, an A+. Xavier Worthy based on the PFF board, B-. B- for Michael Hall. We did another, so there was our trade down in that. Cedric Van Pran, a C+ overall draft grade of an A. And Cars, every one of those players is making the 53-man roster, and every one of those players is playing in 2024. And other than Van Pran, if everybody stays healthy, every one of those are going to be big-time contributors in 2024.
Oh, absolutely.
No problem saying that.
Like, when you talk about Worthy, it could just be, 30, 35 catches, right? You're not talking massive numbers. But if you're putting up 17, 18 a pop on those 30 catches, those are game-changing plays.
Yeah, and it's the Bears' overall team speed has been lacking for forever. cars. Sometimes having a
Bernard Berry and Johnny Knox type, we have them for
absolutely.
short windows, and that's it.
Yeah, and I just look at how important and integral a guy like Deshaun Jackson for the Eagles was. That just
Oh,
opened up everything. And when you have these guys that can be monsters in the middle of the field, and Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett and Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, and again, I got to throw DeAndre Swift in there, having that true burner. And listen, it helps guys like Tyler Scott. It really does. It gives you another burner out there that can make plays. So yeah, it's going to be absolutely interesting. I know you said you were late, Eric. I was just busting your balls, man.
but I think, the things you got to look at too is just, I'm not saying that he's him, right? But Tyreek Hill put up less than 600 yards, was averaging sub 10 yards a catch his rookie year as they figured out the best way to take advantage of that speed.
Yeah.
And when you look at everything that he's done, now they drafted him that year, and I think that was year one um, of Andy Reid as the head coach there. But you take those chances, you get a talent, because there are certain things you can't coach. You cannot coach 4.2 speed, 4.25 speed. You just don't do it. It's sort of take that and say, hey, I don't know what he's going to be, but absolutely that speed and that difference is what I do. Yeah, you bet on that, and he's young and he can grow. And you look at Michael Hall, he's young and he can grow. And I think when you look at this, that's what the Bears do. No, they get these guys who have traits. Worthy is very similar to Dexter, and he's raw, but God, you look at the traits and you see a couple, and you're just like, if I can refine the other ones, this is a home run. And so coming in and not having to be a number one guy and not have to run every route and not do anything other than just take the top off, that's fantastic.
No, absolutely. Where was the one that I was just gonna answer? DJ Daniels. What happens to guys like Travis Bell that were sitting on the practice squad? Well, he left our practice squad actually pretty early and went to Atlanta, and he's bounced around. I believe he's in Cincinnati now.
Yes, he is. Yep.
Yeah. So I was just trying to look up here. Yeah, so he went from Chicago. Atlanta claimed him on November 1st, and then Cincinnati claimed him off waivers from Atlanta in December.
He
So
played 2 games with Atlanta and then went on. Yep.
yeah, and then he probably signed a futures deal with Cincinnati would be my guess. So yeah, just to recap cars, I downloaded it and put it up there just so everybody, if they're late, we ran through a real quick mock draft via PFF. Obviously, we stayed at number 1, Caleb Williams. We ended up trading down from number 9 to number 14. Got back some extra picks. With that pick, with the trade down, we took Xavier Worthy at 45. Michael Hall gives you a pass rushing presence at the interior of your defensive line. And then we really brought in I think a big time piece for this offensive line moving forward. And this is something that I think Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham are taking very, very seriously, where Bears regimes of the past were just like, oh, we can piecemeal the offensive line. We can, we'll sign a free agent. We'll bring in an undrafted guy. It's just nice to have pieces there that give you options and that give you legitimate upside. So
It's the things you gotta, as you move outside of the top 10, and again, this is the reason for moving up, is you see the hits are a lot more spread out. You're still much more likely to hit on something big in the top 10. It doesn't mean that these other moves don't work, but it's just your odds are significantly different. And so as you drop back and you move back, you're really looking for, what do we see about the Bears? We're looking at guys that have traits, that are young, and that they think that they can develop more out of. Jatari Carter's a prime example for what that looks like. What they've looked like in Tyler Scott, who he is in year 2 is gonna be way different than who he was in year 1. Those are the things that I look at. When you start getting into round 2, you could talk all you want about off the field concerns, character issues, all of those things. There's a reason that some of these guys are going to fall. You're not gonna necessarily stay clean,
Right.
but if teams did that, Tyreek Hill is not in the league. Tyreek Hill did some awful shit
Yeah, it's
early on.
very well documented. Yeah.
So you're gonna see these things, and you're gonna see some take some swings, and you have to. You play conservative, you lose.
So just real quick, cars, and I do want to throw this up there, and we talked about it, and we're not going to run through an entire another mock draft, but I just have it set up so we're controlling every team just to kind of give people an idea of what it potentially could look like.
Yeah.
We're just going to, once we get to number 9, and we're not going to do, we can talk about a trade down, but let's just throw this up there and see maybe what we could be dealing with come draft night. So let me add that up here. Can everybody see that, or do they want it?
Yeah. You're
bigger?
good there.
Make it one more bigger, I guess. Does that help? All right. So everybody knows. Does Shori want to get in on this, or did she leave again? She left. All right. So Caleb Williams. So cars, word on the street, we've heard legitimate locked in guys saying that signs are pointing to Jaden Daniels at number 2. So would you agree?
Yeah, I think you look at what his skill set, it's stuff that Cliff has had prior, so that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep. All right. So at 3, I have zero issue with New England sticking and picking. I don't think that they're going to drop down. I really don't. They don't have, you talk about a team that needs a quarterback. Zappy and who was the other? They signed somebody.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But so between JJ and Drake, I'm going to give him JJ. Would you?
I completely agree there.
Co-sign that. So let's do that. All right, JJ goes number 3, and now things
This
get
is when you make this. This would, if the draft went this way, Arizona's 100% making a trade.
Yep.
And I think Minnesota is going to win it out.
Yep. So let's,
because I think their advantage is that second first round pick this year, because Arizona is going to have to give up some of what they get back.
You know what's interesting, cars? So obviously we're controlling teams here, but in the teams that are interested in trading up, I don't know if you saw that. So the first one is at number 6 with the Giants. Look who's number 2 there.
I can't. It doesn't show the drop down. Who is number 2? The Bears?
Yes, the Bears, and number 9.
Yep.
And that's not what we control. That's just, again, it points to my gut feeling that it's going to be in play on draft night. It could be one of those things, cars. And again, I couldn't do it myself. I just know me. I do
it 100%.
Yep.
Because of what
let me ask you this. So in this scenario, we're going to have Minnesota trade up to 4 for the quarterback. So that leaves the Chargers at 5. So let's just say, cars, in that scenario, draft night, the Bears are on the clock at 5. Cars is making the call. Who is it going to be?
Marvin.
And then who would be
Because
your second one? And then who would be your
Neighbors.
third?
Neighbors and then Alt.
So it would go Harrison Jr., Neighbors, Alt would be your.
Harrison is such a different skill set compared to to Malik.
Yep.
Malik physically is more similar to DJ Moore. I understand that he's faster, but Marvin is so different, right? From his size, his body control, everything that yeah, absolutely it would be Marvin all day long.
All right. So the Minnesota Vikings have traded up cars. And they are now on the clock. They took, actually, I guess it took it for me. So Drake May goes. So the Los Angeles Chargers, and now they have 3
And
teams.
ironically, we aren't, which makes
Yes.
0 sense.
So what's the, I mean, we can still offer a trade to come up.
We're doing it because I think this is, Shane, the most realistic scenario.
And this would be the first time in NFL draft history that quarterbacks come off the board 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe they said. And even if it was 4 in the top 5, I believe that would be the first time in history.
4 in the top 6, I think, would have been the first, even down to that level.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's just see what this looks like, because you can go down here to where the hell do they have?
And guys, I'm not. I like Alt, but if you haven't heard me say this before, I'll say it again. An average offensive tackle is better than an average wide receiver. An all-pro wide receiver, to me, is better than a all-pro tackle. When you look at Cincinnati and what they did when it was Chase over Sewell and they got destroyed for it, it was the right move. And the reason I don't have the Chargers going Alt here is because Slater is already the left tackle. You're not going to see them take him and move him right. I think they'll want a Fuaga who is more of a physical type. So if you're the Bears and you could do Marvin, and you could either extend Keenan after this, or you let Keenan go as a 1 year for a 4th year or 2-year deal for a 4th round pick. Either way.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's saying that he's going to go all. The entire point is they're going to get value and still get an offensive lineman at 9.
Yep.
With very likely, things can happen. We're controlling this. We'll see how it goes. But so do you want to, and this is where it gets a little bit wonky, because you can force the trade. They won't. We're controlling both teams here, so they're not going to give you the percentages. But so Brad Biggs mentioned, I believe it was Biggs today, mentioned that, it would be 9, and he said 9 and Carolina's pick, but he wouldn't be surprised if the team asked for both second rounders next year.
Yeah, and I think because you're delaying a year and when they would get that pick, that it absolutely would be both picks. If you could do a second rounder this year, you're not giving up a second, but because of the delay in the year.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather do your first next year or 2 seconds next year?
I would rather do 2 seconds.
Because then you'd have the option. Yeah, no, I get it.
Because if you fall in the middle of the first, middle, like 15 to 25-ish is what I would say. You have so many more options for falling back and recuperating that pick, because that's usually, Shane, it's around that point where the draft gets all crazy, right? And there's been a run on a position and somebody freaks out. It's like when the run and tackles happened a couple of years ago, and Philly drafted one, and then Houston traded up to draft one, and it made a run. So you can make up for those picks more with a mid-first round pick than usually you can with a second round pick. So that's the way I view it.
So do you think that the Bears would get any sort of a late sweetener?
No, I think it would be this straight.
All right, so let's just force that, and people will lose their minds. And hopefully the last time I did not select Drake May, I don't think last time. Hopefully it doesn't just pick for me.
Let's see what happens. There we go.
All right, so we are on the clock. So, Cars, you said you wanted to go with Johnny Newton, right? Is that the...
No, I wanted to go with Xavier Worthy. His speed there. Just call me.
All right, so in this scenario, obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a Bear. So, now, this happens. You're the Giants. All neighbors are available. What do you think?
So me, if I'm the Giants, I'm drafting Alt. I'm convinced that they're drafting Malik Neighbors.
Me too. Me too. I was just gonna say that. Yeah,
It's
I get it.
yes. And I think this becomes a win for Tennessee because this has to be Alt right here.
Is there any way? Who are the Tennessee Titans wide receivers?
Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins,
and they drafted
and Treylon Burks.
Treylon Burks.
So
yeah,
but they have such a bad. Remember, they tried to trot out the retread from Philly that failed at tackle. Their tackles are Nicholas Petit Frere and Dylan Radins. So
yeah, no, I get it. And do you think it's a 100% alt? Would they be in on somebody different?
I don't know how you're not. If you
No,
really
I
want
know where I would be. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're going to really try to give Levis the true shot, which it seems that they're going to do, and you've added Calvin Ridley, even if Levis isn't the guy, guess what? You still have your left tackle to protect the next guy for the next decade plus. Like this should be the biggest home run of a move in this draft. This should be one that you hammer in titanium plates, basically.
All right. So Atlanta is now on the clock. Roma Dunze is available. They're not going to go there. I'd be stunned. Brock Bowers. I mean, obviously, you're looking corner and edge would be.
I'm fascinated because I guess I missed the report about Mitchell being like someone that's there. They already have AJ Terrell. They've got Jesse Bates back there.
He specifically named Terrion Arnold, who he said is red hot within the NFL right now and screaming up draft boards way higher than anybody's going to expect. That came from Tony Pauline.
I mean, that strikes me as an Atlanta move, right? Nobody thought you should draft Drake London over Garrett Wilson. They did. No one thinks that you draft a tight end as high. They did. No one thinks that you should draft a running back that high. They did. So, yeah, Terrion Arnold. For me, this pick would be Dallas Turner because I know that they need so much rush help. But, if that's because it's Raheem Morris is now the head coach there, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I think if Arnold is the one that we're missing, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, and if it is Arnold in real life, that's just good for Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
If he goes top 8, let's just be honest. All right, so we did under this scenario go Dallas Turner at number 8. and now the Chargers via Chicago are on the clock. And so are you looking at Fuaga? Are you looking
bet
at
it has to
Fatanu?
be. I look at Fuaga because Trey Simpkins is not great. I like Sawyer. Why am I blanking on the other guy on the left guard that's next to Slater right now? Hold on, let me look at it because I know I have it up here. Zion Johnson, I know has not been as great as we had hoped, but he's been pretty solid. I think if you could do Fuaga, you really are giving that offensive line a hell of a start, and he's got that nasty streak.
Well, that to me screams Harbaugh, and that's the big difference.
Yeah, it's they want guys to set a tone. You know, if you remember those 49ers teams with Staley and others at the tackle, they really wanted to physically set a tone here. So I think Fuaga at right tackle, and then all of a sudden you've got two bookends and you're starting quarterback for the next decade.
So Aaron Rodgers gets help at number 10 in Roma Dunze.
Which I wouldn't have done because you need your offensive line. You're starting Tyron Smith at left tackle,
and then they traded
Morgan
for
Moses at right.
There's a lot of talk here locally about Brock Bowers being a Jet.
Well, what's there? Conklin is their only other tight end. I would actually like that move, except Aaron has never been known to really use his tight ends. And I also think that offensive coordinator is just horse shit. So I'd be shocked at that move. But this is a kind of a home run here for Arizona, because now you've got Odunze, right? Nope, he just went.
No, Odunze went to the Jets.
So now you've probably.
I mean, is it Bowers? Probably not.
No, because they've got McBride, who had a hell of a season there.
So, I mean, Verse would be in play there. They need a pass rusher.
Can you scroll down a little bit further? Let's just see what else. I'm trying to think of names. Latham here makes a lot of sense at the right tackle spot, because I don't look at Olu as a right. I don't look at Fatanu as a tackle at all.
They played Paris at right tackle, no?
Yeah, they did, and they're moving him to left this year. So Latham here makes sense. Creighton's got a good point, as well as Brian Thomas Jr. here would probably start to be the place that you'd put him.
Well, what do you think is a bigger need for them?
Oh, it's wide receiver, and it's not even close. I mean, when you look at outside of Trey McBride, your starting wide receivers are Michael Wilson, Chris Moore, and Greg Dortch.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's do that here.
Yeah,
and we'll see where the rest of them go. All right, so let's just see. So Brian Thomas went at 11. DeJean went 12. Newton 13. Quinyon Mitchell goes 14. Brock Bowers goes down to the Colts. That'd be a nice pick for Indy.
I mean, if you look at that, if that's the way that it went, and you're Indy, and you've got Anthony Richardson with Pittman, Josh Downs, and Brock Bowers, you're going to be a pretty happy person if you're a Colts fan.
Pullets, yes, he went to New York
right after Quiddy Pay. After Quiddy Pay. How interesting is it, though, that if you look at that, Shane, and you see Amarius Mims going before Olu? Have you heard why Olu is falling?
No, I don't. And I don't know if it's one of those paralysis by analysis. I mean, Cars.
One sack. He comes out up in 700 picks.
He comes out last year, Cars. He's probably the number one tackle by a pretty decent margin.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the good wingspan. He's young. You know, the only issue is his run blocking isn't the best. He's got small hands, so he might have a harder time hand punching with some of the guys. But other than that, like, 1 sack and 700 passing attempts he's given up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I think these guys overthink everything.
All right. So that was just a kind of a fun little scenario. We're not going to run through the whole thing. We just did our full draft, and again, the Marvin Harrison thing is there. I just don't think it's off the table, Cars, to repeat myself for the 1000th time. You're saying that you'd be all in on giving up the future assets. I just think that the way that this draft has the potential to fall, that I couldn't do it myself, because I do look at those 2 second rounders next year. And I mean, not even ours so much, but that Carolina one could be worth a ton. But the interesting way to prove your point, Cars, is under this scenario, you have to add Marvin Harrison Jr. now to the trade down from last year
Mhm.
with the Carolina haul.
If you look at already that haul has gotten us DJ Moore and it's going to get us Caleb Williams, and you do add that additional player
You gotta throw Tyreek Stevenson in
and
there too.
Tyreek Stevenson. I mean, who again, another outstanding guy. Like, it's insane. This is going to go down in.
I mean, you're talking, it's not the sheer volume of the Herschel Walker trade, but the potential impact is massive. I mean, it may not be the best one ever overall, but it's in the conversation, Cars, and you're not even 2 seasons in.
And if Caleb goes in and has the career that we think he's going to do, and even if you don't end up with Marvin, just if DJ Moore, you'll have from one trade the best wide receiver you've ever had and the best quarterback that you've ever had from one trade. From a team that has lacked at both the wide receiver position and quarterback position. It's incredible to me that within a few years here, Caleb and DJ are going to probably have every record all over the place.
Well, and Marvin Harrison Jr., let's just say he did end up here. He has a relationship with DJ Moore. They're close off the field. And you can say that it doesn't matter, but I think it does matter when we all knew that the fractured locker room talk with Justin was.
We heard the same thing about Mitch.
Right. Well, exactly. And we knew that it was fluff, but this is exactly how you do build a locker room. You know what I mean?
You get the quarterback, and again, from all the reports, he's a wonderful leader. He's beloved by teammates. But you get that guy and he tears off. It gives you such flexibility every year moving forward. And it makes it where people want to come here.
Yeah.
It makes it where people are like, hey, I want to go play. Look at this guy. Look at what he's doing. I want to go do this because we are both a major market with an incredible fan base. And if this team wins consistently, there's no place that, is like this. Dallas is different. Green Bay is different. I don't mean in any sense of like if they win, but if the Giants win consistently, you see it when they were doing that with Eli.
Oh, yeah.
What was that fan base like? If the Chicago does this, if we get Caleb and he is 75% of what everybody says he is, just 75%.
Yeah.
That sets a bar that we've never had.
Oh, no, not even. We've never approached. Yeah.
That's a decade of winning.
Yeah. You're absolutely right, man. No, I get it. And again, I just, will this happen on draft night? Maybe not. Maybe probably not is better.
Yeah.
I just think it's in play. And I think it's going to be.
I think it's heavier in play than
explored.
most people think.
And these two teams that could be involved, like we talked about tonight, Cars, and this is what I brought up on another Bears show with Ivan. The Bears have already dealt directly with LA. And these talks could have,
they're
started
part of the
then.
conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
it probably started with, hey, so Keaton may be available. Let's talk. But while we're on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about number 5.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's bring our girl. She looks like she's all smiley over there and happy and working her poor little fingers to the bone. What was for dinner tonight, Cherie?
Baked potato soup.
Baked potato soup. Is it homemade?
Yes, it's homemade. I didn't
Look at you.
Help.
You didn't send me any homemade baked potato soup.
I sent you some, but it's gonna be from DoorDash.
Oh, there you go. Well, that works. I can answer my door. All right. Well, my voice, it's struggling a little bit. My throat is absolutely on fire. So I think we're going to get out of here, wrap it up. We send our well wishes to DDP and the Etoshan crew down in Florida. We said, hope they have fun. Just don't come home with any real estate purchases or anything like that. We're cool. Cherie. But beyond that, we're going to be real busy here. I'm probably going to pop up at some point in the next few days for the patrons, and we'll figure something out to talk about. We'll go from there, but we're almost at go time. And draft week is a real busy week here around TTNL, and I know Cars did a little bit of one, but he's going to have to do his annual one again the night before the draft. And
no pressure. Yeah,
no pressure at all. So we'll see. And that's just so everybody remembers, Cars mock draft is what he think is going to happen, correct? Isn't that the way we've been playing it?
Yep.
Not exactly what you want, but you think that is going to happen. So
yep,
absolutely. Do it premise, and we'll have our annual fight night between Phil and I, where we draft nothing but rookies to build our 22-man roster. So we draft one after another. So that'll be fun.
Shane is undefeated in those years to date. So,
well, you know where I screwed myself over last year? I was getting a little bit squirrely, so I wanted to piss Phil off. So I took his quarterback, Bryce Young, just to fuck with him. And he's like, all right, well, fuck it. I guess I got to take CJ Stroud. So that blew up in my face big time.
Yeah, well, he's got to jump for it to reach your face. So
yeah, love it. But so we'll be doing that, and we're going to figure out if we're going to be doing the patron mock. It's a logistical nightmare for me. And it's always hard
because no one shows up on time. And
it's like, can you send me your number and your email address? And then they'll be like, well, I'm going to be at my sister's. And I'm like, well, that's great. Can you send me your email and your cell phone number? Well, can you DM me on Patreon? Yep, I can. And it's going to say, can you send me your cell phone number and your email address?
Can you just do the
and
one
when you do that
thing
times 32, it gets, we'll see what happens. Well, either way, we're going to do something fun with the patrons, and
absolutely
it'll be a lot of fun. Yes, there's going to be tape breakdowns, Nick, for the patrons. We have more of those coming up. Ivan and Phil hasn't this week, but Ivan's been cutting tape and banking it. So we got a bunch of stuff lined up, and we'll make some announcements on that. But that being said, Cherie, got any quick shout outs before we get out of here?
No. So, okay. But I do want to say this. So when we decided to keep Eberflus, I was checked out. I'm not going to lie.
Nope.
I'll wait to see what happens at the beginning of the season. But seeing all the moves and everything that they're building and preparing for Caleb, and honestly, you guys, you have convinced me. Like, I'm back in now. So now I do have to go look at the draft prospects and see who I like, because I love all. I was completely checked out of the postseason.
Yeah, Balls is not a draft prospect, just so you know, Cherie.
Thanks.
Evil Eberflus is coming out with the funk inspired hairdo and beard has changed everything, where he's got that little bit of extra swagger. So let's hope that carries on over.
I hope so. But thank you guys.
Cherie's happy. I'm happy.
She'd draft him number 1 overall, wouldn't you, Cherie?
Every time.
Well, maybe not anymore, but
No, still.
see.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa. He's not watching.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Cars. I know you have a couple little deviants at home, just like I do.
I do. Yeah. It'll be Maisie's birthday happens around draft week, so that'll always be a fun time. But no, I love the kids. We have our first daddy-daughter dance of the year is this weekend, so I'm very much super thrilled that it is Taylor Swift themed. Cannot wait to hear Taylor Swift in it.
So we need more Taylor in our lives, right?
In a closed environment. Please, someone run me over. But other than that, thanks everybody. It was really fun to come back on again.
We do have one shout out from Mr. Larison.
Oh my God, Greg, droning on and on. Shut the fuck up, dude.
Oh, wait. Did y'all do any super chats?
Oh, Jesus, Cherie. You're good. You're a good person. No, I have not. We do have to rip through these. Thank you so much. Corn planter, $5. Happy birthday, Card.
Thanks. It's nice to be old.
Yes, we are all getting there. Trues. Every time I see that name, it messes with my brain. $9.99. Not that I agree with it, but do you guys see any scenario where the Bears trade up to try and get Marvin Harrison Jr.? And what do you think the cost would be to take him from either Arizona or LA? Well, yes, we talked about that quite a bit, and we just did it actually. So
I do think it would cost more to move up to Arizona because a quarterback would still be in play. But once the fourth quarterback comes in, I think that the prices of everything else settles back in.
But thank you, $9.99. Appreciate it, brother. Lloydimus, Hard Knocks more likely with Caleb. I wonder if he will be able to deflect a lot of the attention away from the team. Could be a good thing. Well, he's the one guy that I don't want a lot of, extra added stuff on, but would I be right there watching it every single week? You're damn right I would be. I don't really give a shit what George thinks about it. Whatever, man. It's 2024, and the Bears are going to be the biggest story in football this offseason. And will it happen? We'll see. Are they up for it? Yeah, they are.
I bet they won't.
Yeah. Well,
they'll give it a year.
Yep. 1337 though. Thanks. Eddie Kane Jr. If you didn't see Mike V, he looks like Timberland. Yeah, there's a little bit of that in there. Or do I still have it up there? Did you see that, Cherie? Do you remember who he looks like, Mike V? He looks like somebody.
I don't see Timberland. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, and it's Timba. Let me correct you. It's Timba. I mean, come on. Everybody knows that. I clearly know how to do that. But
y'all got cars correcting y'all on rap.
Yeah, you're fucked at that point. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Matt Hepler, $9.99. Matt Waldman. Waldman, his name is. Wide receiver rankings, Neighbors, Rome, Marvin Harrison Jr. He said all three would be in his top 7 prospects in the last 5 years. Do we need to trade up if Falcons can trade down? Yeah, it's legit. I've heard people say that if Rome Odunze was in this draft alone at wide receiver, he's a top 5 lock. So, everybody has their ways of looking at it, and Waldman is clearly one of the best. So appreciate it, man. Keys guy. This wasn't
I'm sorry, I had started that one.
Yeah.
But you answered it.
Yeah, I did. So, but thank you anyways, Keys guy. Hepler's back. Caleb never threw an interception on 3rd and 4th down during his career at USC. It's insane. I think you talked about that.
Or fumbled. So interception or fumble.
And Isaac Siegel, $20. Hard to bartend tonight at my bar. Otherwise, I'd have been on sooner. Bears are going to be good this year and don't have to hope there's hope. There's genuine, real, attainable hope and a bright future. Bear the F down. That's the perfect way to end it, Isaac. We appreciate you, my man. We're gonna get out there. 4 years, 98 mil extension for Devontae Smith. They're talking about it, but that's the world we live in. Again, we'll see. That could mean,
Imagine what Jalen Waddle's going to get to then.
well, but that could mean that AJ Brown could be on the move. Who knows? We'll see.
That's crazy.
Eagles do some crazy things sometimes.
I expect him to get moved on draft day. How about that, AJ Brown?
Really?
Yeah.
We'll see how it happens, man. All right, let's get out of here. I'm just looking away. We can close this out, not this way. Get back on vacation. Come on, man. Not this way either.
That's always one of my favorites.
Yeah, he texted us, didn't he, Sheree? Just finishing up practice. I'll be right there. Oh, Cars is there. Fuck that. I'm going to bed, he wrote.
I get that a lot, so it's fine.
I thought that was...
I didn't realize he was a member of the Chubbs fan club with me, but about me.
All right.
But that's fine.
Let's close it out this way. We'll see you guys soon. And for you non-patrons, what the fuck are you doing? Get out there. Come on. Sign up. Let's have some fun. Love you guys.
Hey, fuckers, this is Brian Erlacher, and I'm keeping it 100 on the Tape Never Lies Network.
Oh. The Tape Never Lies Network. The Tape Never Lies. Keeping it 100 like I'm keeping it 100 when it comes to the Bears.
I think the tape never lies, right?
The tape never lies.
Never does.
Not smart.
Get in your hat and get the hell off the field.
Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears, and I'm keeping it 100.
You guys know the tape never lies.
Hey, this is David Kaplan. Listen to me. You want to learn football? Listen to my guys, Phil and Shane. Keeping it 100, the Tape Never Lies Network.
Courtney Cronin, beat reporter covering the Chicago Bears for ESPN and ESPN.com. And I am keeping it 100 on the Tape Never Lies.
I'm Raymond Harris, the Quiet Storm, a.k.a. Ultraback, and I'm keeping it 100 on the Tape Never Lies Network.
Home of the greatest Chicago Bears fans on earth.
I love all